trying to stay the same. Courtroom cold, fluorescent hump, Bible on the table, but the devil run. Billy in the tie with a plastic grin, Ashley with a file, trying to tuck your sins. Pain on the phone, talking real cheap. Names on the list that can't even sleep. Government fam with a government scam. Shake the wrong hand, now you're part of the plan. Lakes all county losers, playing your game. Telling them stories, gotta keep them the same. Nothing there true, so who take the blame? Billy, Ashley, or Payne? Government fam, government scam. What's true, what's not, you don't give a damn. Prosecuting wrong ones, letting bad ones walk. Judge in your pockets while the innocent ride. Is Pete creeping on a late night tap, digging through lies for a headline splash, picking out prey, but you call that law. Halo on crooked while you hide that claw. You smile in church, passing that plate. Monday you're twisting every word I say. Sign that warrant with shaky ink, but you sleep real good when my people sink. Lay tall, county losers, playing your game, telling them stories, gotta keep them the same. Nothing there true, so who takes the blame? Billy, Ashley, or Payne? Government fam, government scam. What's true, what's not, you don't give a damn. Prosecuting wrong ones, letting bad ones walk. Judge in your pockets while the innocent ride. Look in the mirror, who you see? You all look the same. You can't fool me. Devil inside, ugly out. Say you righteous, but you run on down. Layton County losers, playing your game. Telling them stories, gotta keep them the same. Nothing there true, so who take the blame? Billy, Ashley, or Payne? Government fam, government scam. What's true, what's not, you don't give a damn. Prosecuting wrong ones, protecting the vile. Layton County losers, we see through their smile.
All right. Welcome back to the cafe. We are open for business. It is great to see you all back here in the house today. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're all having an amazing day. All you beautiful people. It's great to see you all. Again, today, guys, as I said yesterday, we're jumping back into part 4 and the final review on the Dylan Mortenson statement analysis. I'm sure you guys are probably over this by now, but I think it's important to understand somebody's point of view that went into this with absolutely no thoughts about Dylan or knowledge of the case other than the basic stuff. Hearing his thoughts and feelings, Travis has done an amazing job with this. Hoping that Travis will be joining us here very soon. I'm working on something possibly for the verdict room this Saturday with Travis, joining myself, Kim, and Logan, Mikey as well. So fingers crossed, folks, that will work itself out, and he'll be joining us then. So we're going to break that down today, along with whatever else we jump into in this amazing community. Plenty to talk about here, as always. Never enough time, in my opinion. So please make sure to hit the like button. Share this out. Let everybody know what we're doing over here at the cafe. Grab your cup, fill it up, get off your feet, take a seat. Let's do this.
Flicker like broken halos. Whispers gather in the smoke-filled air. Tables carved with secrets and shadows. Every story's a wound laid bare. The kettle's boiling with a restless rage. Justice written on an unseen page. I sip the silence, bitter taste, waiting for the ghost to show them. Mirrors cracked, reflections are liars. Ashes fall where the guilty once stood. The jukebox hums like a funeral choir. Echoes pounding through the neighborhood. Every scar is a candlelit vow. We hunt the how, we demand the now. No more silence, no more disguise. We'll paint the night with sharpened cry. At the TruCrime Cafe, we serve up the pain they try to hide away. Pour another cup of the truth you crave. Raise your glass to the names they betray. This is not a sermon, it's a battlefield hymn. A requiem dripping from the bottle's rim. The guilty write stories in invisible ink, but we'll drag it all up from the edge of the brave. At the TruCrime Cafe, the reckoning burns like a black bouquet. Every shadow will pay. In the TruCrime Cafe.
All right. Come on in, guys. Grab a seat, if you will, please, and thank you. Welcome back to the cafe. We are open for business. Jumping back into more of the Idaho 4 mess, as I've been calling it lately. Guys, if you do, by the way, enjoy the intro song that we just heard there, that one was created from our amazing videographer, Molly. She created the video and the song. Please jump over to her channel, check out the rest of her stuff. She's got so many things over there that I'm sure you'd enjoy if you like that. She's so very talented. So please go check her out right there at that link. Thank you, Ms. Bubbles, for doing what you do, as always. Welcome back. Welcome back. Again, like I said today, guys, we're breaking down the part 4 and the final part of the Dylan Mortenson statement analysis and the review on it. What the final thoughts were on this. Everything we watched on the last 3 shows. That's what this is about, is the final thoughts as to what Travis believes after reviewing all this, based on his feelings and so on and so forth. And there's more we're going to be discussing with this stuff today, too, other things as well. So come on in and grab a seat again. Get off your feet. Grab your cup. Fill it up. Let's do this thing. Looks like, again, SRB's in the house. Miss Bubbles herself. Thank you for being here. Loving it up. Welcome back to you. Pretty much Finland. Great to see you, Blue Devil. Welcome back. Miss Q, welcome to you. Miss Tandy in the house on her lunch break. So grateful to have her here. Thank you for being here, Seahawks fan. Love to have you. Jenny. Miss Jenny's in the house with like peas and carrots. Good to see you. Italian girl, Rose 76. Great to see you. Miss Jen 7 in the house. Always happy to have you here. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated. And guys, as she said, please don't forget. Don't miss that on the Verdict Room every Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with myself, Miss Kim from Typically Unique, Ms. Logan from Bronx Tales True Crime, of course, my production manager, Mikey, the last 24, and myself. You don't want to miss it. It's always a great show, and I'm praying, fingers crossed, we have a guest this week that I've been trying to get here. Hopefully it works out. Baby Ames in the house. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Luther75 dancing on in as well. Always happy to have you. Beach Babe, welcome back to you. Miss Wendy, great to see you today. Legal Swag, welcome. Great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Phil's in the house. Always happy to have Phil. Great to see you so much, my friend. In my mind's eye, welcome from London. Great to see you. And again, guys, I always love to see where you guys are tuning in from. If you're comfortable with it, please throw in the chat. I would love to see where everybody's coming from. We have a lot of people from different countries that come in here, and that blows my mind. I love that. So if you feel like you're up to it, you're comfortable, throw it in the chat. I'd love to see it. Let's see. KB Killer, welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. Becca, welcome back. Great to have you here as well, guys. Please make sure you're hitting that like button and share this out and let everybody know what's going on over here today. Sassy Cassie's in the house. Good to see you, Sassy. Amy Oleski, welcome back to you. Miss Sarah, welcome. Great to see you today. Let's see. Come on in. Come on in. Pretty much Finland. I'm guessing in Finland. That was a good guess, right? Yeah. Thank you. Let's see. We got Big CW is in the house from Southeast Missouri. Welcome. Great to have you here. Loving it up. Southwestern Pennsylvania. What's up, neighbor? Baby Ames is out of Oklahoma in the house. Miss Q from Australia. Another one of our Aussie friends down under. Of course, Miss Cassie's in Washington. Eddie's in the house. Welcome back, brother. Buffalo Chick. Welcome to you from Western New York. That's awesome and amazing. Wonderful to have you here. Come on in, grab a seat. Nay, nay, Galagos. Welcome to you. Great to have you here. Of course, Miss Bubbles, we all know. Boring ass Ohio, just like me. We know. Leah Story's in the house. Welcome, Leah. Good to see you today. Turkey Creek Cow, welcome to you. Great to see you. Maury Proberger, wild and wonderful West Virginia. Love it. Beautiful country. Welcome from there. Looks like we got Oz Hellendy. Oz Hellendy, welcome from Australia. Another Aussie friend. We love our Aussies. That is a fact. Let's see. Maury Proberger says, Bubbly. Yeah, Bubbles is from Ohio for sure. A lot of us are. Nicola Donahue, I think. Is that how you pronounce it? From London. Welcome, one of our friends from over the pond. I love it. Love it, love it. Great to have you here. Mandy Gillian, welcome from Indiana. Nothing wrong with that. Another one of our neighbors. Mama Bear's from Indiana. Fox Rooters in the house. Coming from a galaxy far, far away. Welcome, Fox. Great to see you. I love it. Love it, love it. Lori Woody, hello and welcome, my friend. Great to see you. Rebecca Seidner says Southeastern Indiana. Another Indiana person. Wonderful. Welcome, Lori Woody. Great to see you. I am in Ohio as well. I'm in Northeast Ohio, Maury. I'm in between Cleveland and Akron, right in between the middle of them. JPP, 1987, welcome to you. Thank you for joining us today. Yes, Tex, of course, Tandy said Tex ass. She's from hell. Her and Tomboy come out of hell every day to join us from hell. That's where Texas is. I can't handle Texas, folks. It's too hot down there. Miss Kawanda, the lovely Miss Kawanda's in the house today. Good to see you, dear. Thank you for joining us. Miss Lori Woody says she's from Columbus in Naples, Florida. Lucky you. Another Ohioan in the house. The heart of it all, as they tell us. Yeah, right. Oh, poor Proberger's in close to Columbus, too. Of course, we know Miss Kim is in Ohio from Typically Unique. She's right up the road from me. Mrs. Lana is up near Columbus as well. There's a lot of us from this boring-ass state. Probably why we come in here and do what we do, because it's so boring here. There's not much to do. Microdot, welcome to you. Great to see you. But you're in West Virginia. I got you. No worries. No worries at all. Miss Leah's down in Georgia. Southern Peach. Love it. Love it. Love it. Nothing wrong with that. We got a Jersey girl in the house. Hey, hey, Miss Beach Babe. We know that. Welcome. Welcome. Good to see you today. Yes. Miss Cat is in hell as well, Texas. Sorry to hear that. It's okay. Nay Nay's in Michigan. Another one of our neighbors up top there. Microdot's Western New York, 45 minutes from the falls of Niagara. That's awesome. That is awesome. Very awesome. Sleuther says she's from Pennsylvania. Hey, a little bit of both, huh? Yeah, we're close. Neighbors. Not too far away. Miss Lexi, welcome to you from Toronto, Canada. One of our neighbors up north. We got a lot of Canadians that come in here too. We love you guys and appreciate you very much for broadcasting our stuff up there for sure. Pie Norman's in the house. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Or I'm sorry, did I make the mistake of this before? Male or female, whatever you are. I'm so sorry about that. If I did this once before, my apologies. You know I don't do it on purpose. Another person from Texas. Welcome from Texas, Miss Jen Seven. Good to see you, dear. Michelle F. I know Michelle comes from over the pond. Great to see you, Michelle. It's not that hot in Texas. It will be. It will become the depths of hell soon. That is no doubt. It doesn't take long. Legal swag coming out of Boston. I love it. That's awesome. It's a wicked pizza in Boston. Yeah. Miss Jackie, just Jackie. Good to see you, dear. Thank you for being here with us. Making sure I'm not missing anybody here. If you jumped in and I didn't see you slide through the door. Your favorite song? Oh, you have to remind me, Michelle. I'll make sure I start playing it more. Grace Kirk, welcome. Good to have you here. UK Jackie again, obviously from the UK. Wonderful to have you here. Miss Sweet Melissa's in the house from Pennsylvania. Another one of our neighbors here. Great to have you guys. It looks like we got 139 peeps in the house today, guys. And we have 58 likes. Please, please. I don't care if you got to kick it, spit on it, punch it, smell it, whatever works to make that button move inward. Hit that like button, please, and thank you, so we can get this in that algorithm and share this out, guys. Please and thank you so much. O'Hara 3 is coming out of Ireland. That's amazing. Beautiful, beautiful country. Love it. Thank you so much for joining us, O'Hara's. And of course, I just saw somebody else too. Thank you, Miss Q. Thank you so much. SoCal Deb, obviously Southern California is my guess. Wonderful to have you here, Deb. We have such a great community. I know I don't chat a lot. It's because I watch it on my TV. However, I feel like, of course, that's what I want here, Maury. That's exactly what it's supposed to be like. This community is built and created to be home for you guys. When you're, in here on YouTube, I want this to be everybody's home, to feel like they're comfortable, that this is their family outside of their real life. That's exactly what this community is supposed to be like. Okay. So I hope it is. And if it's not, and there's something about the community that you have a problem with, or with me personally, just tell me, guys. I will work on those things to make it more comfortable for all of you, any of you. That's our goal. So please, please, just let us know if there's anything that you don't like. Excuse me. We got Patty Paris coming from Jersey, another Jersey girl in the house. Love it. Always wanted to live in New Jersey. Don't ask me why. This dumb reason. Being a musician, you guys know I love music. One of my favorite musicians way back in the day was Bon Jovi. Okay. And he came from Jersey. And I think I thought when I was younger that if I could have lived in Jersey, I could have been as good as him when I was younger, way younger, like 12, 13, before my mind started to form, I guess you could say. And it was always a thought, but Jersey just always seemed really cool to me. And then, of course, The Sopranos came out, and all these other things come out. And every bit of these things, every time I see something from Jersey, um, the Jersey Boys, all that kind of stuff. It's always made me want to live there, guys. It's weird, but that's the reason for it. Kind of dumb when you're young. You make weird decisions and thoughts. Thank you so much, Jackie. God bless. Thank you, Eddie. I appreciate that so very much, brother. And you are definitely part of our family here. So thank you for making that statement. My Scream name, welcome to you. I've seen Bon Jovi like 4 times. Very, very good. Him, just an amazing musician. I saw, let me see, back in '89, I saw Bon Jovi, Cinderella. There was 4 bands. It was Bon Jovi, Cinderella, a group called Britney Fox, and guys, I'm feeling old now. Bon Jovi, Cinderella, Britney Fox, Vixen. That was the other. It was a female group called Vixen. Amazing, amazing. Anyway, it was a great concert. 1989 at the Akron Agora. Or no. I mixed that up. I'm sorry. It was Blossom in Cleveland. My apologies. Jackie says this is definitely one of my favorite channels because of the community. I am a misplaced South African. Well, we love having you here. You're not misplaced here, Jackie. I promise you that, and thank you for that. No, it was Brittany Fox. Brittany Fox. Yes, they big old poofy crazy hair. I'll show you in a minute. Um, Samantha Fox. I would have given anything to go see her back then too, but I had that boy crush on her. Everybody did. Paula, Miss Paula, the positive one in the house. Good to see you. I've seen Lita Ford before, Jen. Yes. Another one I had the boy crush on. Lita's amazing. Female musicians that can play that kind of stuff have always mesmerized me, truly and honestly. Beverly Fike, hello and welcome. Yeah, Brittany Fox is not a person, it's a group. And they had the big hair back in the day. Let's see here. They weren't they were not very attractive guys either. I was remember the girls that I used to hang around with. Vixen was a rock band. It wasn't really metal, but yeah, kind of. Yes, Melissa. Exactly. That's the best song they ever put out. Girl School. I'll show you a little bit of who Brittany Fox was. Just for a minute, because of course they won't let it play, I'm sure. Gotta love the 80s. That's Brittany Fox, if anybody was worrying about it. Welcome, Debs. Good to see ya. Mary Holt, welcome. Carolyn Prestage, great to see ya. They looked like women, but they were men. I promise you. Brittany Fox was. And of course, Vixen. Vixen was amazing. They were all beautiful, beautiful women, very talented musicians. Amazing group. Kiss me where I pee, I will not, but it's wonderful to see ya. Yes, when music was music. Amen to that one, Maury. Gotta love us, guys. Gen X is Gen X, period. Like, we are the best generation, period. I don't give a shit what anybody says, period. We had the best music. Everything was the best back then. Unfortunately, not anymore. 70s had good music, too. Don't get me wrong. Yo MTV raps. Amen, Pagan. Good to see you today, by the way. Here, I'll show you guys the other. I saw these guys actually twice. They were in that Bon Jovi concert, and then I saw them with another female group that wasn't as well known. Funny thing is this lady, right? I can't remember her name right now. The lead singer of this group, she dated, of all people, Richard Marx. If you guys remember him, he was not a rocker. She dated Richard Marx. The drummer dated oh my God, what was her name? Roxy, I think. The drummer dated the guitar player from Skid Row, and one of the other girls dated the other girl that played bass. She dated some other guy, but she dated that blonde girl dated Richard Marx of all people. I was like, wow, okay. Billy Idol and Faith No More. Gotta love it, Tandy. Hell yeah. Billy Idol's still amazing. Anthrax, Skid Row, Iron Maiden, Bruce Springsteen. Oh my God, that's a wide range. I love it. The hair is crazy, isn't it? Believe it or not, I tried to do that once. When I had really long hair, I tried to do that whole. Nope. And then I finally stopped with the whole sellout, cover girl bands, and just let it go. Faith No More is amazing. G Bean. Good to see you, G Bean. Pagan Ways again. Yay. Dimebag Dale. Rest in peace, brother. Pantera. One of my faves. Richard Marx married Cynthia Rhodes, now married to Daisy Fuentes from MTV. That's hilarious. Thank you, Beach Babe, guys. Anybody that chooses to support us by using anything with the Amazon wish list, God bless. We appreciate. Never ever expected, but God bless you guys. It keeps all my equipment moving and fresh and keeps me in coffee and all that fun stuff. So, Jello held up the hair. Really? Is that how that worked? I thought it was just the rave hairspray. My wife, she had a crazy hairstyle. If I could find that picture, I'd show you her hairstyle from back in the day, y'all. Crazy. Thank you so much, Mary. God bless. Yeah, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the new channel, Cafe Conspiracy. We'll be delving into all the wild and crazy conspiracy theories out there. I promise you that. I'm super excited for it. We're working on the intros and stuff for it right now. And yes, I cannot wait. So please make sure you guys do. Thank you, Mary, so much. Subscribe to that channel. We'll get the link in here for you if you haven't had it yet. I'm looking forward to it for sure. Right? Here you go, guys. I'll show you a little flashback. Here's my baby doll right here when she was 16. See that hair flip in the front? Gotta love Aquanet, right? That's Mrs. Dago. For those of you that have never seen her. Back in the day. That's just one. She's got another photograph. Okay. Where it was like up here somewhere. I used to ask her, like, how the hell did you guys get that? Thank you, Leah. Like, how did you guys get that to stand up like that? She was like, it was a job. And then to wash it out every night, like, my God. Yes, that is Mrs. Dago. Thank you for the compliment. Welcome back, Mary. Coffee's in the house. Good to see you. All right, guys. I forgot to do it again. 1 minute. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Leah. She is inside and out. Absolutely beautiful. There it is. Guys, make sure to subscribe. Hit this link here, Cafe Conspiracy. That is our additional channel coming out. Nothing to do with what we do in true crime other than the possibility of conspiracy theories there. But completely separate channel, completely separate stuff that we're going to be doing. So make sure you subscribe, please. I would love to have you there. If you're into that stuff, come on now. At least come check us out when we get it started. Up 1 minute. Who do we got? Looks like Eddie's going to be joining us. That's awesome. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Good to see you, Dago. Hello, everybody.
Always a pleasure to have you here, my friend. Hope you're having a good day.
Yeah, I did. It's been really warm.
It's good there, yeah. It was warm and then it got cold and then got warm and then got cold. Crazy. It is crazy.
I wasn't able to be with you guys yesterday, but I did kind of watch some of it on replay. Interesting topic.
Yeah. No worries. No worries.
I
appreciate you though.
I have a couple thoughts to share about that.
Sure, go for it. Absolutely. I'd love to hear your input on it before we get going. Welcome, Dory. 100%.
Considering,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I stepped on top of you there. You finish up.
Oh no, I was just trying to welcome El Solar, Mish Girl, Dory. Moto Man's in the house. Good to see you, Dogman. Welcome back to you. Written Dreams is in the house. Welcome back again. Deb68, welcome. Written Dreams. Let me see. I think Hoppy Master, Beverly Pike, Debs, yes. Again, I thank you guys for the compliments. I appreciate it. Cindy Rella, Ella, welcome to you. Everybody that's jumping in, thank you so much for joining us. And for those of you that aren't actually in the chat, you're just kind of hanging out in the hallway watching, please know how appreciated you are as well. Very much so. So thank you for being here. All right, buddy, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Okay. When you do a search, and I haven't spent an exorbitant amount of time going around the internet, but let's say that any one of you went through the internet doing searches on, and it all depends on the search words, how you ask the question. So you can say reasons why murderers stage or pose bodies after homicide.
Yeah.
You can just do more of a general question, staging of bodies in homicide, etc. So you'll find that you're going to get a common theme. For example, the act of leaving a victim's body in an unusual position in a conscious criminal action by an offender to thwart an investigation, shock the finder and investigators of the crime scene, or give perverted pleasure to the killer.
That was in the statement I posted when I first started the conversation. I pulled that up. It was exact words. Maybe we probably looked up the same thing then. Yeah.
Yeah. Another one. Disposal of a victim's body shows an additional level of effort by the offender. I'll stop right there.
No, you're
gonna quickly be able to identify the common theme that I'm trying to point out here.
Sure.
Another one, in a staged homicide crime scene, the offender tries to make a murder appear to be something that it is not. So on and on it goes. It talks about the perpetrator or the offender. Singular. Did you notice?
Yeah.
Always.
One person, right?
Because why would a number of perpetrators do that, right?
Exactly.
It would be very unusual. And therefore, when you go running around doing your searches throughout the internet, there's not going to be a lot discussing that, would there be?
No, typically not. I wouldn't imagine. I agree.
Who knows if there is? I haven't seen any yet. But that would be very unusual. Now, here's the trick question. What else would you have a hard time finding, if it's even searchable, if there is even one thing researched and written up about? We might be here too long if I wait for someone to get the answer right. So I'll out with it. The answer is law enforcement staging.
There you go. There you go.
So what is my point to all of this? I mean, you won't find anything that covers law enforcement staging. There's no way. Does that mean that it's never happened? That would be something new under the sun. Someone gets shot and a law enforcement officer takes a boot gun and, throws it by the body. I mean,
exactly.
We've seen it in Hollywood. Is that the only place that it's ever happened? I'm not here to,
No, I doubt it.
Throw a dark cloud over law enforcement. That's not what this is about.
No.
So the point to all of this is we know one thing is a fact, that there was a number of culprits in these
Correct.
4 homicides. It wasn't just one. So therefore, it'd be very unlikely that there would be any staging by them. Wouldn't it?
I mean,
and if someone disagrees, then just let's cite the articles, do the search and help me find them. Where does it happen? Where is that common? What can you, rather than, being the naysayer, be helpful, right? Be helpful.
Sure.
What is the source on that? What is the background, the precedent, if you will? Where has that happened?
Right.
It would be difficult. I'm not saying it never has happened.
Sure.
I mean, but we're to believe that this was done in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And then what purpose? What purpose would it serve for the criminals to do that? What would their motivation be? Right, to throw off the investigation? I suppose that'd be the only thing someone could, suggest. But here's my thoughts.
Right.
What if it wasn't the perpetrators? Because they didn't really have control or access to that crime scene after they had committed the homicides.
Well, and bingo.
Yeah.
Think about that for a minute, what Eddie just said, and think about another thing. And I hate to say this, okay, because I mean, we've been saying this for years now, okay? But we know that the prosecutor went in, him and his assistant, and spent a few hours in there, okay? We didn't see anything on the body cams other than the surroundings of the victims and things like that. In my opinion, I'll say this first and foremost, the entire scene was staged, okay? The entire crime scene was staged, including victims, in my opinion. So we don't know. We don't know who did it. And if you think about, I don't think anybody went in after the fact. Well, okay, let me rephrase what I'm saying, because that would have completely contradicted my statement. So it could have been perpetrators. I'll say this, okay? But it was also based on a plan that came from somewhere else. I'll say that. But there's other people that were in that crime scene that could have went in and staged what they did and made things look a certain type of way to give a specific narrative, to make people start to believe a specific theory on what happened. Okay. And it's a very plausible scenario, folks, if you think about it. It happens a lot. Annie actually was in the chat already. Annie covered that. Like 25% of crime scenes are staged by law enforcement. It's happened many, many, many times. And it's been talked about. Even Chris Whitcomb spoke on it. I know how you guys feel about these two, and we're not going to jump into them, but Dr. Turby has talked about it. He knows that's his specialty. He looks at that, and he knows that, and he stated many, many times law enforcement has done that on scenes that he's been on. I mean, and I've looked it up, guys. It happens a lot. And Eddie told you, like I said yesterday, the reasons why it happens, okay? In some certain basic senses, it is actually just a simple black and white, cut and dry scenario. The killer themselves, singular, I'll say at this point, goes in and does it to leave a message. That's a basic scenario and answer to the question. This is nothing basic. Nothing about this case is basic. And this is not a normal case, nor is it a normal investigation and their lack of. So remember those things, too, when you think about it. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Sorry if I overstepped, Eddie. My apologies. Go ahead.
No, you didn't. But I would just conclude with, let's consider
Welcome,
the
Ronnie.
possibility that it is law enforcement in this case, right?
Sure.
Their reason for staging it isn't to make it look like one thing or the other thing necessarily. The reason that they would have would be just because they're suggesting, because again, when you go look and do your own research on the internet, everything that's out there will talk about the perpetrator, the offender, the murderer. It doesn't talk about a group of people staging. There's no such thing as that. So
it doesn't give that. It's a very, it just doesn't read out that way anywhere I've looked. So yeah.
its purpose would be to suggest, again, one lone perpetrator. Also, like we've observed, the conclusion is never law enforcement did it. So the fact that they staged it, if that is true in this case, that they did stage it, then that would automatically cause everyone to assume that it's not law enforcement.
Right.
And then
Very
their
good point.
theories are just going to go everywhere. Well, it's, I think so-and-so staged it. I think it's going to be everything but law enforcement staged it. Because after all, and I'm being a bit sarcastic here, that just wouldn't make sense.
Right. And most people don't. Most people, Eddie, you know this. Everybody in here, you all know this as well. Most people are not comfortable with saying that, with making that statement to themselves, let alone to the world. Okay? Most people, they don't even want it to come out of their mouth. Law enforcement did this. The police staged the crime scene. People don't like to say that because it makes them feel uncomfortable.
Right.
It makes them feel as though this is our police department. We trust them. We have to trust them. But they did this. Nobody wants to believe in that. Okay, it's a scary thought.
Additionally to that, you can't prove it. So now you're calling them liars. You're calling them scoundrels.
Yes.
Without any proof.
Yes, that's dangerous at times too. Very good point. Thank you, Beach Babe. Absolutely, absolutely. But the whole point in this case, okay, I think there's a couple variations of possibilities here. Okay, number one, to create a narrative, is my opinion. Number two, possibly to leave a message, and number three, a combination of both of those, possibly, meaning that the narrative they're creating, possibly it could have been done to try to make it look as though they're trying to leave a message and have people look in that direction and go that direction with the investigation and the thoughts and feelings that they have about the case rather than the actuality of the truth. If that makes any sense, you guys. I hope it did. Did it sound, did you I know you probably understood what I meant. Am I right?
I think so.
Okay. And I think that this one could be any one of those three. Okay. This one, in my opinion, seems more along the lines of this was done to make people believe a specific narrative and possibly to keep you away from more of the truth in that aspect, if that makes any sense. That's what I'm trying to say. I do believe that. Now, I do still believe it's possible that it was the perpetrators. It's very, very rare that more than one person is going to do this, okay? That's just a fact based on the readings that I had. But it is possible still. You still have to take into account not every single situation is going to be the same, but the average possibilities on this says no. If you have 3 or 4 people that are committing a murder, they're not going to sit in there and make this whole thing, stage everything. Unless that was the whole plan from day one, prearranged, premeditated, whatever it is, so on and so forth. Yes. Somebody comes into a house, 3 people go in, they attack people, they kill them. They're not going to take time to stage a scene. They're just going to do what they did and leave. So that's why it's such a rarity. It still could happen, as could anything. Like I said, I don't believe that's what happened here. I believe it was to create a narrative and to shift everybody's thoughts and feelings away from the actuality of the truth. That's just my opinion. So
You would need time to do that.
right,
And if there is a number of perpetrators, plural, which there is in this case, like how do they come to that conclusion? Like,
absolutely.
is there a
Right.
vote? Did they have that predetermined? It's very unlikely. And who's in charge? Who's the ranking member, so to speak?
Sure.
Are they in agreement as to how it's going to be staged? What are we going to make it look like?
Right.
Hey,
And
we got to get out. What are you doing? We got to get out of here. We don't have time for this. What's the purpose of that?
and
Well, I got to
especially,
just spontaneously have a good idea. Here's what we ought to do.
yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. And don't forget the timeline they gave for this to happen. Okay. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. And guys, I promise we're going to get into what we're getting into, but this is carried over from yesterday, which is very important to put this out. So, um, there was a cleanup done. I think all of this goes hand in hand too, Eddie. Just my opinion that the cleanup, the staging, and everything all was one situation together. In my
Yes,
opinion,
it is.
that's how I feel.
Agreed.
I believe the cleanup happened to hide the roommate's knowledge of it. I mean, partially, sure, sure. I also believe though that the cleanup could have happened to hide other involvement too, McAnn. Um, Lana and I have talked about this on our channel here. She's talked about it on her channel. She talked about it with Birdie. She's talked about it with a lot of people as well. And as myself, I fully believe when I asked Lana when she joined us on the verdict room that night, her thoughts on the cleanup, her statement was very to the point. She said law enforcement, period. I can't argue. And I said that's very, very good call because again, as I keep saying, I said this yesterday more than once, and I've said it many times in the past. Who better to clean a crime scene than somebody that knows what to look for in a crime scene? Okay? You know, law enforcement comes in and looks at this and says, that can't be here. That can't be there. This has to be here. This needs cleaned up. This is going to be a problem. That over there. So who better to do that? As somebody that handles crime scenes daily. Okay? Just again, these are my opinions, of course. But I can't say that I feel very strongly comfortable with that. I'll put it that way. Welcome out, man.
Well, and this will segue right into what we're doing here today. But when we all, the last time I think we were together and did this, we looked at Pavarotti's video.
Yeah.
Back when he broke down the Maury Dylan interview on the 13th. And Pavarotti is so insightful, and he immediately understands when he's watching that Maury sit-down interview with Dylan, the important takeaway to observe. It is not so much that Dylan's lying, but Dylan is following the lead of the detective. He is lying, and she is agreeing to it.
Yeah, it's obvious. It's obvious. There was leading big time. There's no doubt.
That means that there has to have been a prior arrangement between Dylan and law enforcement in order for that to be.
Yes.
So it is necessary to understand that in order for you to be able to understand when this thing, you know, as you call it, Daigle, the game really began.
Right. That's important to understand, folks. It's very important to understand. And as I've asked this question time and time again, I will continue to ask it because it's important in my opinion. When did the game, as I call it, start? Before or after that? I'll make it simple at this point. There's multiple ways you can look at it, but I just say now the game started either before or after the 911 call. Whatever you believe on that is how this narrative will play in your mind and how the situation unfolds, in my opinion. So, absolute.
Well, and we can add a little bit more to that. And if you're of the opinion that it happened after the 911 call, then it has to be the criminals that did the staging, at least the majority of it.
Yeah, right.
And if you're of the opinion that it happened before the 911 call, then that would be law enforcement that did all the staging.
And see, there's a little bit of there's a helper. How can I say what I'm trying to say here? There's a bit of a helping hand with this. Okay, the 8 hour period of time. The 8 hour period of time allows for many different things to take place, in my opinion. A call to be made. Okay, a conversation to be had, and other people to get involved, other than the people we know of. Okay, meaning, let's say, for instance, the murders take place. A phone call is made. Hey, this happened, and what are we supposed to do at this point now? Okay, but there's a couple things to take into account with this. Lucy, you got some splaining to do. Good to see you, dear. So insightful. So Ellie is covering up for errands. Then why protect the roommates? Well, that's a good question. It depends on how you see it, too, though. Thank you, Grace. So I think the 8 hour period of time is only there for that specific reason. Okay, because of things that went on between that and the 911 call. It was done on purpose. I'll just say that, which is why it's never questioned. Think about that. It's never been questioned. And if it has, you show me where. Anybody, please show me where law enforcement ever questioned the roommates on why it took 8 hours to call anybody. We all questioned it, but nobody within law enforcement is. I've never seen that stated or asked any which way, anywhere.
Right. They don't want to know because they already do know.
That's right. That's what I was going to say. They don't ask because they already know the answer to it, and they're not supposed to talk about it. Okay. Thank you, Michelle, for that membership. I can't see who got it, but whoever did, congrats and welcome to the sauce. Very much appreciated. Okay. So what I was saying was, I lost my thought for a minute.
The 911 call, the 8 hour delay.
Yeah. So, it's obvious to me that was there on purpose. It was part of premeditation, per se. I think everything was done in a certain type of way. I think the murders happened. There was a call made or a text or something. This happened or something. This turned into something more than it was supposed to. And I still believe that people knew that there was something that was going to happen throughout the week before. Again, my opinion. I think it was in the air and it was talked about. And I think that's why certain things had happened the way they did. And I think my one thought, though, is probably different than some. I think it's possible. I'll say I have two options with this, that it was supposed to be one thing and turned into something else. I think it may have gotten carried away. I think it could have just been, it was going to be some type of a confrontation, a shakedown, as Kim had called it, possibly, maybe, or something like that. And it went too far. And then they had a scenario they had to deal with. Okay. I think it was known that something was gonna happen. I think that's why the distancing happened, why people stayed away, if they stayed away, because I do have a new set of feelings on the possibility. I've told you guys, and even Chief Fry said it, whether he was meaning it the way he did say it, that there were other people in that house that night. I believe there were. I think there was other people on that scene until right before the call was made, and they just poof disappeared because they had to. Okay, but again, there's a lot to that. I think it was known for the week prior, or at least some days prior, that something was going to go down. So everybody, quote unquote, either stayed away, or the other option to this is that there were more people there that night, you guys. And I've been telling you guys, it's very possible there was some form of a party there that night, whether it was an actual blow up party or if it was just a get together that turned into a small party. I still think it's a possibility, and things went awry, something bad happened, and everybody bolted. Okay, I still think that's another possibility with this. So I'm kind of all over the place with that. I have a couple different variations of what's going on in my mind. But the 8 hour period of time was going to happen, period. It had to happen because they had to figure out what actually happened as far as what they were going to put out, and the cleaning and the staging and everything had to be done. That's why it was there, the 8 hour period of time. I'm sorry. So
I'll add one more important thing to consider about this, about that
welcome.
8 hour delay
Sure. Yeah. Welcome,
in the
Scully and Hangman.
911 call.
Absolutely.
And that is this: if you think there's something unusual or something off about the 911 call, then if you assume that the law enforcement knew about this before the 911 call, that would explain that. Otherwise, you're left with thinking that the 911 call is genuine and you accept it at face value and you don't see anything unusual there when you listen to the 911 call. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. It
My
does
point
for
being
sure.
is if your theory is law enforcement knew about this before the 911 call, then that would totally explain why the 911 call is unusual, because a little birdie would have been in that 911 call operator's ear prior to receiving the 911 call.
It very well could be.
Well, that'd be the very first important detail that they would have to overcome and fix, if you will. Because that's kind of on the record, right? So
Yeah.
there would have been a lot of, I guess, consideration paid to how are they going to handle the 911 call.
Well, and see, that's the thing too. I think, and this is just my guess. Okay, I could be wrong. I very likely am. I think like the first person that was contacted when this happened was very likely either Scott Green or somebody very close to him. Okay, and said like this is what happened, or somebody within a sorority or something like that. Okay, or maybe a law enforcement officer. I'm just saying, Green had to have something to do with this, in my opinion, in that aspect. And I think part of the decision making came from him as well. Like, this is what needs to be done. This is what we need to do. And I think that's why he was involved in every bit of the investigation and all that stuff. But again, I think it starts there per se, is all I'm saying. So sorry.
There's a parallel,
Yeah.
and I don't want to keep going on and on. This will be quick, but there's
Oh,
a
I get it.
parallel between the Maury Dillon interview and the 911 call between Dillon and the operator. The
Right.
parallel being that I see more of a interesting behavior pattern in the operator. People tend to focus on, the 911 callers. They're lying. It's obvious they're the ones deceiving, but
Yeah.
no, it's the same play off of one another. The operator is kind of leading, and I guess my final point would be just look at, if it was really an unconscious person. I mean, aren't 911 call operators usually trained in CPR, and won't they give guidance like, well, okay, go to the patient, listen for a breath, okay, then give rescue breathing if not, and chest compression. I mean, you
It
don't
was
just sit there idly and wait
no,
to get
none
the
of
nearest defibrillator, from downtown.
none of the there was a lot of things I had personal issues with in the call. Again, my friend Rayanne that works for 911 here, I asked her about it. We talked. She was like, "That's just odd." And there's a federal basis for 911. Okay, it's not just every place has the same rules, the same laws that they follow, so on and so forth, throughout the country. There may be slight differences in different states, but the protocol is the same. We looked into that, and Rayanne said that it's just off. The whole thing is off. She said when she heard it to me, the first thing she said to me, believe this, and you guys heard me say it, because why didn't she have them start CPR? And I said, that's my question. She goes, that's odd. I've never seen anybody other than in specific circumstances where they know that the person has a heart issue or things like that. You grab a defibrillator and go to town that way. But typically, like you said, the CPR testing for are they breathing? Did you check this? Did you check that? There's a protocol you follow. It shows up on the screen when they're taking the call, and you take step by step by step by step. That's again federal protocol. It's not just a thing. It's national, folks. So I don't understand that. And so that in turn, the way that happened is why I'm confused. Okay, and
Yeah.
it makes me doubt the rest of the call. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, it's a stage call. I didn't mean to get us going. I mean, we've been down
No,
that rabbit hole
it's
100
good.
times, but
It's good. No, we
it's
can go back and listen to it today again. I don't care, guys, because it all revolves around what we think and need to know. So it doesn't matter to me. But
it's the caller following the lead of who's in charge, and in that particular case, who's in charge is the operator. But the operator had to
absolutely,
have known something. There had to have been some prior arrangement before she received that call, no doubt.
and there very likely could have been a conversation had, a phone call had, and said, whoever takes this call, this is what needs to happen. Very well, very easy to I can see that very, very easily happen. This call is going to come in, okay, and yes, like SRB said, zero direction or life saving measures. Amen. If this call is going to come into you probably within the next 10 minutes, this is how this needs to be handled. Make sure this happens. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. I'll just put it that way. Okay. Welcome, Tristia. Good to see you. Jesse's in the house. Good to see you, brother. Or Terestia. I'm sorry. I always say your name wrong. I'm so sorry about that. Anyway, and Yvette, good to see you as well. So yeah, I can fully see that, Eddie. As much as I don't want to believe things like that, I told you guys that there's crossovers with the call that don't usually happen. You can hear like radio traffic coming through. That's never allowed. Rayanne said the same thing. She was like, "Why?" I said, "What do you think about this, this, and this?" You hear all these radio calls coming through at the same time, and she said the only time that ever happens is if you have um a cross call where they have two operators on the line dealing with two separate incidents that related to the same one. That's not what this was. This was a singular incident, a singular site, and the response was to a one singular situation. There was no reason for crossover. There was no reason for the background to come through on the calls. None of that's supposed to happen because the call is supposed to stay. The call is supposed to be. There's a word I can't think of right this minute, but it's supposed to be kept within a box. I'll just put it that way, okay? Because I can't think of the damn word. And there's not supposed to be anything else that breaks in on that call. But it was happening. You could hear radio traffic coming through the call regularly, and that's very strange to me. Yeah, operator of the year. She did get an award for that too. Very interestingly enough, everybody that was involved in this seems to have gotten awards and raises and all sorts of things. It's kind of interesting to me. Stop passing the phone around. Yeah,
That's important that you point that out too.
of course, of course.
That can't be overlooked because that is that behavior is very suspicious and it's telling.
Absolutely. And this is a 911 center, mind you. And this may not have nothing to do with anything, folks, but it still bothers me a little bit. This 911 center, I believe it's called Whitcomb, is used by both Pullman and Moscow together. They share a lot of things, folks, a lot. Okay? And it just it was so very strange listening to this, and they allowed for it to be the way it was. Nobody questioned it. No, the operator should have questioned more than she did. And she didn't. She did a lot of things that you don't do on a 911 call. Okay. And there's a lot of things she did that you or didn't do. Okay. I also have issues with watching the first responders, listening to the first responders being toned down, excuse me, slowed down, turned around, stopped, and then they show up, and every one of them's wearing a respirator, which told me right then and there that there was a conversation had with them about time, the time span that the people had been dead, and the first responders don't show up to a scene with respirators on without knowing previous to that they need them. Okay, so that conversation was had. This is bad. They've been dead for a while. There's a bad smell. You need this. And they still showed up even though they were shut down. So I don't know what was going on with all that. There's a bunch of things in there that are very uncomfortable to me. So, not to mention, as I told you, the medical or not medical examiner, the coroner not being allowed to go in and being on standby for 12 hours when she was there within an hour of the call. All of those things are just problematic for me. Okay. And also allowing the prosecutor and his assistant to go in the house before her, and all the time that was spent throughout the day doing absolutely nothing. Okay. Nothing, because forensics wasn't there either. What was going on other than the picture taking? Well, here again, as we said, a lot of us believe that the staging was done by law enforcement. Well, there's your time right there. Okay. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. And we won't know. We're not supposed to. Unless somebody comes out right and says, "Yeah, I was in there and we staged this, we staged that, we did this, we did." Okay, that's how we're gonna know. Period.
We can ask Bryan to allocute and tell us why he staged it.
Yeah, there you go. That's 100%. That's what we should do. Write a letter to Bryan and say, "Why'd you stage the scene, dude? Come on." Lucy says, "To be fair, though, Dago, Moscow really does like their masks." Yeah. Oh my God, Lucy. Yes, they do. They do. I agree. Dog kisses. Welcome to you. Could have been rerouted a different individual phone instead of 100% is what I was. Yeah, that's what I meant, dog. There could have been, I'm not saying there was for sure, but likely there could have been, very likely, a phone call and a conversation that says, in about 10 minutes, this call is going to come in. And they reroute it to one specific operator, okay? And they shut everything down around her, and they disconnect it from the, which you can't do it. You can't disconnect it from the national, there's a thing, I can't think of what it's called, but where they get to hear all the calls, okay? I can't think of what it's called right now. But I don't think that happened, but it should have been questioned by the higher ups when they heard the call come through. They should have listened to the call, they should have reviewed the call, and then people should have said, "What the hell is this about? What is that about?" So on and so forth. And that didn't happen either. Meaning to me that there was another conversation had. This is what this was. This is what it is. This is how it's supposed to be. You need to leave it alone type thing. So I'm just saying. So there's that as well. Helen D, welcome to you again. Thank you. I did say hello to you earlier. Welcome, Dog Kisses. Micro, good to see you today. Just like the supposed 911 during the opera overnight hours and someone went to that. Right. Yeah, I have questions about that stuff too, Micro, I promise you. In the first few weeks, Payne tells local LE not to run plates in the normal system. Yep, a good point. And there's a lot of things like that that happen, Lucy. A lot of things like that right there were going on for a while, and you explain them. Somebody explain to me why these things happen, because nobody can. It's pretty clear from the start that they hid everything. Amen. Amen. Thank you, dear. And thank you, SRB. Any other thoughts, Eddie, towards this?
No, I'm just still chewing on. I never heard that the 911 operator got accolades or achievement award recognition after this. That is so. Again, that is big red flag, because the people that have played a hand in this game and did their part, so to speak. That's what you do. You boost them up. You elevate them publicly.
Yep.
You give them the credentials or the pedigree, so that if anyone, no one's going to dare challenge. I mean, she's got these awards now, and how dare you?
And you're not going to call that out, right? Thank you.
That's just going to shut that down. And
well, look, exactly, and go back, Eddie, and look at how many people got awards, and awarded for different things that were involved in this case.
What happened? Yeah.
What
Someone
happened?
Should have a list of it, because
absolutely,
that's we look for patterns. That's all we can do here.
We did have. I think I remember seeing at one point, maybe it was in a Discord, we were talking about like everybody that got promoted, everybody that got raises and got bounced around to different, better situations than what they were in, Officer of the Year awards and other things like that. Yeah, it happened a lot with this. And then on the other side of that, you also had people that took early retirement, that completely left in general, okay, that said that they were retiring and moving on to a different situation, trying to run for sheriff, failing, and then moving on and going right back into the same situation you were in a different state, city and state. That's red flag to me. Captain Lanyard took early retirement. He didn't have to, but he did. Multiple officers left and moved on to different situations. That's just not a normal thing, in my opinion, to happen when you have a situation just because of this situation. The two don't not go together. I'll put it that way. If this case wouldn't have happened, okay, the murders wouldn't have happened, would they still be on the department the way they were? Would Fry still be the chief? Would Lanier still be working? All of those things are questions, okay, that should have been asked. It should be asked. Um, all of those things, in my opinion, have to do with what happened here. I think people left because they were uncomfortable with it. I think people probably were directed that you might want to just move on in some aspects because then you don't have any culpability. At least it's believed because you're not here now. They'll forget about you and they won't question you. Things like that. Okay. Um, just saying. And I believe this. So
You're not going to question or challenge someone with such high accolades who's so highly esteemed in their community.
agreed. Absolutely agreed. And yes, by the way, guys, for what we're reviewing today, real quick, so everybody knows, I don't want you to miss this if you can help yourself. Logan with Bronx Tales True Crime is going to be doing a live stream with Travis T. Logic channel today. Travis is going to be joining her at 6:30 p.m. Please make sure to go over, support, and check it out. It should be a great one. Thanks for reminding me, G Bean. But no, back to what we were saying. Yeah, absolutely. They're not going to question that. I mean, in the norm, people besides us are not going to question that. But we immediately see these things and jump right on it like that's a problem. That's a red flag. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Where did this person go? Where did that person go? You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
It's out of the same playbook as you have the family members doing the disseminating of the misinformation and the propaganda. I mean,
Right.
they're victims. No one would dare question that. That'd get shut down immediately.
Yeah, of course. That's another thing. How many people of the people we just spoke to were asked to sign an NDA? I'm curious. I'm very curious because I bet you there's a stack of them, Eddie. I bet you there's a stack of people that either left Moscow, were promoted, or moved in a different any of them that were involved in this were probably almost all of them were asked to sign an NDA about this case. I'm very curious. Thank you, Leah. Micro said, "Are we all part of Bryan's PhD thesis? Actors in a movie? Everything is scripted, and we're part of the research for community blowback, analyzing law procedures." I mean, who knows, Micro? It could be. At this point, I don't doubt anything, to be honest with you. Thank you, SRB. And again, yes, the layout link is pinned at the top of the chat if you want to jump on panel. And you do not have to have your camera on, like she said. Just know that. But you're always welcome up here. Mallory was commended by Secret Service. See, there again, we have other people that moved positions into different agencies from MPD and from ISP, so on and so forth. Would all that have happened if the Idaho 4 wouldn't have happened? No. Okay. This, unfortunately for them, this murder put them on the map. Okay, and put a bullseye right in the middle of them. And now they're in the public eye to the whole world. And this is not just national, it's worldwide, folks. Believe that or not. Well, as you all know, because you're in here talking about it from other countries and stuff. So, yeah.
The fact that Maori got an award, that's kind of laughable.
It's crazy, yes.
You know, it's kind of like paradoxical, too, because he should have gotten an award, meaning that what he's doing there in that room is way more difficult than like in a normal world.
Yes.
Doing his job, doing an investigator doing their job regularly,
yeah,
and just being straightforward and doing it in the natural procedural way. That's easy. But what he's doing is, it's a one-off. It's the first time, I imagine, for him doing that, and he's doing a pretty good job with it. Because it still has some people saying, "Look at Dylan, she's lying." So he's doing a good job.
Absolutely.
Kudos to him. He did wonderful.
Yeah, he's doing a 2-for-1 in that. He's got to make it look like he's doing his job, and at the same time, he's got to follow this narrative. At the same time, So it was a twofer on that one. I agree with that. Yeah, I'm surprised she didn't get some kind of a key to the city myself, love. I swear to God, I was waiting for that to come. Welcome, none your business. K-Dips. Here's Lori with Crime and Chaos. Good to see you guys in the house. Thank you for joining us. To 330 peeps in the house, guys. Please make sure you hit that like button. Let's make sure we get this in that algorithm. Please and thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to share that, Dago. Now, moving on.
Absolutely, bro. You know better. Jesse Lynn. Jesse Lynn. Good to see you, dear. Now, moving forward. All right, guys. Let's pop this up here and get this rolling. Miss Sarah D. Irish in the house, guys. If you want the info on this case, just go there. Miss Sarah has wrapped this up in a beautiful little package over on Twitter or X, whatever you call it. Put a nice big bow on it, and it will keep it so organized so well. She did an amazing job. Jump over, follow her on Twitter, and check it out. You guys will be super impressed. I'm telling you, anything you need to know is right there. So thank you, Sarah, for joining us, and thank you for what you do, dear. We do appreciate you. Miss Joneson's in the house. Good to see you. Hoppy said, historically significant is the fact that material evidence in a frame job shows the chain of custody documentation cannot be pinpointed to any of the individuals in the chain. That's a good point, Hoppy. And it's obvious. It's obvious. Very good point, my friend. Thank you for that. All right, all right. Again, this is part 4 and the finality of what Travis was trying to do. There's a review as to his thoughts and feelings after the fact, guys. I think it's kind of important to end this with. Blue-eyed butterfly, great to see you today. Thank you for joining us. And we're off. Here we go.
And I just want to start off with who I am and who I'm not. Okay. I'm not a law enforcement professional, a licensed investigator, behavioral analyst, psychologist, or legal expert. My videos are created for discussion and commentary purposes only and reflect my personal opinions, observations, and interpretations of publicly discussed information. Nothing in these videos should be presented as fact, accusation, or professional analysis. Viewers are encouraged to do their own research and form.
And let me explain something, okay? First and foremost, I'm sure he's been harassed by people because people out here are ignorant. They don't care. The day that Travis first came out, he claimed he's not an expert. He said he studied it quite deeply, okay? And that's fine with me. He's not promoting himself as an expert, as a specialist in this. None of that. He just was making conversation based on knowledge he learned and his thoughts. That's all this was. And he went into this again so that everybody understands this. He had very, 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 very little and basic knowledge of the case. And he said he was going into this because he had heard people think nefarious things about Dylan. He's going into it looking at her as completely innocent of anything nefarious when he started. So that's why he's probably explaining this now, because the people out here are just so ignorant at times. And people went in at him and said, "You're not a professional. You're not this. You're not." So for those of you that did that, shame on you, okay? Because that has no bearing on this. He never claimed that. He did an amazing job. It's something that we can all do this, okay? But he knows more than any of us do that haven't studied this. That's all it was. He studied it quite in depth. That's all it takes. Logan did too, okay? So it doesn't take much, guys, to be able to figure this out, is all I'm saying. So again, guys, please make sure the link will be dropped that you guys subscribe to Travis T. Logic if you can. He did an amazing job with this, and I'm very excited to see and hear what he believes after this. So, all right, on we go.
From their own conclusions. So again, I'm not a professional statement analyst. I am an amateur. I'm a private citizen. I have a day job, and this is something that I did study. I learned from Peter Hyatt. I paid him to teach me. I went through his deception detection course, and I completed.
For those of you that don't know, Peter Hyatt is a professional. He's very good. And so in my opinion, okay, this is my opinion. If you take a course from a professional or an expert, that kind of puts you in the same box, okay? But he's not claiming that. So that's why I trust in Travis, because of who he learned from.
I completed that. And to be honest, until the very final test, I have the packet all completed. This was years ago. It was just a tough time for me and my family. I had recently got married, and I went from 2 to 4 kids to then 5. Me, hers, and ours situation. And so it was just a lot on my plate. So I have regret not sending in my packet, my completed packet to Peter, and just put it off and put it off and put it off. And then unfortunately, a couple of years later, he passed away. So Peter Hyatt is who I learned from. Peter Hyatt, I am going to put a link in this video. Please check him out. He is, or was, God rest his soul, rest in peace. He's the godfather, in my opinion. He's amazing, amazing statement analyst. He did it for a living. His explanations are tremendous, and his understanding is vast. So I just wanted to explain that, who I am and who I'm not. So I also kind of want to explain what statement analysis is and what it's not. Okay. So statement analysis seeks to understand only the psychological reality of the subject. Okay. And that's really, really important. If you don't really understand what that is, just think about it. Statement analysis seeks to pull out the information within the statement and never injects information into the statement. So I just want to throw it out there that if you or I have an agenda, if we already have preconceived notions, any presupposition that doesn't align with statement analysis, any presupposition that is biased from the get-go, listening to statement analysis is going to be frustrating because it may or may not confirm the agenda or the bias that you have or I have. Employing statement analysis with a bias, with preconceived notions, with things rattle around in your head would be a mistake. And so statement analysis should be unbiased. It should be objective. It's disciplined and scientific listening. Okay. It's universal. It's repeatable. These are principles principles, not talent. Okay. These are things that anyone can learn. They are universal in the aspect that anyone, big, small, dark, light, young, old, can learn them and apply them. And just like science, I mean, it is scientific. Okay, just like the scientific method is a universal method. And I do my very best to practice that. Part of the reason I'm doing this video is because a couple things in the analysis that I've done and in my videos are vexing me, and they're and I'm going to kind of talk a little bit more about that. But I have lost a little sleep because I'm wondering if I was biased at all, if there were things that I had heard that biased me to read into the statement rather than just letting the statement, rather than pulling out what the statement is saying. So I'm going to be doing a video explaining this in more depth, but I just kind of wanted to give a little cursory information there. So, all right, I want to get into a couple things when it comes to the analysis of Dylan's November 13th, 2022 statement analysis. So let me go ahead and jump over to this. Okay. Okay. So here we have, we're going to start off with talking about proper introductions and closeness and distance. So if Kaylee's, Maddie's, Xana's, and Ethan's names are not redacted anywhere in this interview that I analyzed. Here are the introductions for each. So I wanted to kind of go over this. Okay. That's a big if. I'm assuming that their names were never redacted in this interview. Okay. And upon reconsidering and just really thinking about the analysis that I have gone over, I realized, wow, this is a major caveat in the analysis. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the redactions. I know I'm preaching to the choir for a lot of people who've been following, anyone who has been following this case. Apparently it's a major theme. So I don't want to spark any unnecessary emotions about that, but I feel very confident and it clears my conscience to really talk about this. So if Kaylee's, Maddie's, Xana's, and Ethan's names are not redacted anywhere in the analysis, in the statement that I went over, in the transcript, and in the video, here are the introductions, okay? So how the subject introduces the 4 victims. So we're going to start with Maddie. So the subject says, Maddie and Kaylee came home from the club, and then we all went to bed, okay? The investigator asked about the time, and the subject said, I think they came home, like she stuttered, 1:32-ish, okay? This is in part 1 of my 3-part video series there. So the subject mentions Maddie's name all on her own, okay? We're going to talk a little bit more about all of them, but just breaking it down name by name. Kaylee. Maddie and Kaylee came home from the club, then we all went to bed. Same thing. So Maddie and Kaylee were mentioned first, were introduced together at the same time, fairly early in the statement. The investigator asked about the time, and the subject said, I think they came home like stuttered 1:32-ish. Again, this is in part 1. So the subject mentions Kaylee's name all on her own as well. The subject did not share any conversation or interactions between the subject and Kaylee the entire statement. Regarding the account of the last night, morning at the subject location. Okay, so here's a note. The subject said at one point, and then I didn't open the door. I just called her name, and I called Xana, Kaylee, and Mogan on my phone, and then there's other things. But the important thing here is called her name, because I can hear a rebuttal in the back of my head. Well, wait a second. She said she called her name, so there was an interaction. Well, later the subject said, and then I called out to her, and there was no crying after that. I don't really know what happened after that. The investigator then said, so when you opened the door, you thought you heard Kaylee crying in the bathroom. And the subject said, yeah, but it could have been Xana, but I thought it was Kaylee at the time. So, however, I mean, this is pretty obvious, but I think it's good to kind of rehash this. We do not know whose name she called, or if she even called out a name. We do not know if she said, are you okay? Who's crying? Kaylee, Xana. It would be an assumption to conclude that the subject was referencing Kaylee's name in either instances. The subject would not say what she said, okay? She just merely said, I just called her name. She didn't quote that, okay?
All right, you guys, sorry to interrupt, but I have some super exciting news. I just wanted to let you guys know right out of the gate. I just verified that Travis will be joining us this Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Verdict Room. Myself, Kim, Logan, and Mikey, and Mr. Travis will be there as well. It is verified and written in stone. So put that on the books for this Saturday, folks. I'm excited for this. I can't wait. And again, thank you, Travis, for all you do, brother. We all very much appreciate you. So here we go. Yes. So there you go, guys.
Okay, that's not a quote. All right. And we also have some caveats. Right? Okay. The subject would not say what she said, and we're not going to say it for her if she cannot say it. Okay. All right. Xana, kind of some similar overlap here. And then I didn't open. However, Kaylee and Maddie were mentioned earlier. Later, Xana is mentioned. And this is where the subject mentions it. And then I didn't open the door. I just called her name, and I called Xana. This is the first time Xana is mentioned. Kaylee and Mogan on my phone. And then that's it for that part. And this is covered in part 2 of my analysis, video 2. So this is when Xana is introduced. The subject mentioned Xana's name all on her own. At this time in the statement, according to the subject, this is when she called all their phones, which it is up to the investigators to confirm this claim. This is beyond the scope of the analysis. Okay. Again, we're just trying to understand the psychological reality of the subject. We're not, this is beyond my scope, is to confirm whether it's true that she called all those people's phones. There's tons and tons of private citizens who are looking into all that. Okay. So however, the fact that Xana's name was not mentioned up until this point, okay, this was later than Maddie and Kaylee. Okay. And the fact that Xana's name was not mentioned up until this point indicates relative to Kaylee and Maddie, increased psychological distancing. Okay. So when we don't have any interaction with the subject and Xana throughout the statement, only an attempted call on the phone. Okay. But again, I'm just going to put a little note in here. The subject says, and then I called out to her and there was no crying after that. I don't really know what happened after that. The investigator responded, so when you opened the door, you thought you heard Kaylee crying in the bathroom? Subject, yeah, but it could have been Xana. But I thought it was Kaylee at the time. We do not know whose name she called, or if she even called out a name. We do not know if she said, are you okay? Who's crying? Kaylee, Xana. We don't know. It would be an assumption to conclude that the subject was referencing Xana's name here. The subject would not say what she actually said, and we're not going to say it for her if she cannot say it. A final note here, okay? The subject Dylan did not inform us regarding when Xana arrived to the house, and the investigator did not ask about this, okay? So that is a important note that I did not mention videos 1 through 3. Moving on to Ethan. Ethan is mentioned by the subject last in the statement, okay? Last. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So Peter Hyatt would share examples of statements where a witness or a potential criminal would not even mention the victim's name throughout the whole entire statement. And I did talk a little bit about this type of thing in videos 1 through 3, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit more. The less a subject is willing to say someone's name, or the longer it takes to introduce them. Okay, what we're really looking for is proper introductions. Okay, and I'm going to go over that in a little bit. But the fact that Ethan is mentioned last in the statement is very important, and I did not talk about this. So Ethan is mentioned in part 2 of my video. Ethan is introduced here. Subject. She says, Xana is dating Ethan, who was in the room with her. They're really nice too. From an introduction standpoint, Ethan is indicated to be the most distant psychologically from the subject. Previously in my conclusions, this is important, I had mentioned that Kaylee is indicated as primary target. Okay, as the primary target. Let me fix that. Upon further analysis, my conclusion about this weakened. Okay. Upon really thinking about this and going back through it, I am less confident about that conclusion. Ethan is a contender. Okay, Ethan is now a contender for primary target. Okay. The reason we heard Ethan's name is because of the investigator's question right here. Investigator. What about for Xana or Maddie? Are there any guys that are an issue? Any girls that are an issue? Okay. So that's how it came about. This is how Ethan came about, was a specific question from the investigator. Okay. So it is unknown where, when Ethan would have been mentioned without the investigator prompting this response, if at all. Okay. We don't know that, but we do know that he came about. His name was uttered by the subject because of this question, and his name was uttered last. Okay. Now, on the other hand, the subject could have avoided using Ethan's name altogether by employing something like Xana's boyfriend was with her in her room. He stays with her. These are my words here. Okay. These are my words. These are not the subject's. All right. So I'm just going to put those in a, I don't know, in a gray or something. Okay. Can't really see that. It's a bad color to choose. Let's do a light blue. Okay. These are my words, not the subject's. But my point is that she did use his name. Okay. So the subject did say Ethan's name on her own in that sense. Said another way, the investigator did not have to ask a direct question. What is Xana's boyfriend's name? Right. However, the fact that Ethan is named last is something to consider. And I put a little reminder for myself to cover the Sigma Chi party in purple. Okay. Purple is a certain indication. I color code a certain indication here. So let's hop up to Sigma Chi. So remember, she dropped the we, okay? And I covered this, I believe, in video 1 and 3, but I kind of looked at this earlier and later in video 3. She dropped the we, I left. Okay, so she dropped the we, she couldn't say we, she didn't want to. She said there was a Sigma Chi party. Obviously, yes, we were drinking. I left to go to my friend's house, okay? A bad listener would go, oh, okay, so we went to the Sigma Chi party. No,
Welcome, Karmic.
If she cannot say it, we will not say it for her. And then much later, she said something that was one of the out of all the statements, this is one of them that stood out the
Welcome, Dog Mom. Just saw you. Thank you for joining us.
most. And it did stand out the most in the sense that, and I'm talking about sensitivity indications, just normal. Everything seemed fine, totally normal, nothing weird, out of place, or suspicious. There was a lot of convincing here of normality, okay? Again, you think about fiction. When we read a book or we're watching a movie and there's narration and it says, everything was normal on this beautiful summer day. Once we hear those words, we hear normal, we lean in, we are listening, we're paying even more attention because we know something abnormal is going on. And that kind of highlights, it helped me understand why this is so important, okay? When we are recalling what happened, we're not labeling things as normal or not. We just recall them as they happened, okay? And oftentimes we look back, we think back and we're like, what we thought was normal, and all of a sudden we're like, wow, that wasn't actually normal at all. But this is a strong indication of anything but, and this kind of goes to persuasion as well with the marriage example. If someone is asked, hey, how's your marriage? And they go, oh my gosh, your marriage is so tremendously, wonderfully, incredibly amazing. We intuitively just go, whoa, are you trying to trick me? Are you trying to fool me here, buddy? Or are you trying to fool yourself? What is going on there? We just naturally understand, wow, there's some sensitivity there. And again, it might not be for nefarious reasons. It might be because there was some really rough patches that they had just gone through, and now things are really good. So that's why the sensitivity was coming out. That's what they were thinking about. They were thinking about all those rough times, but they're also thinking about how much better it is. But at the same time, it could be just deception. Simple as that. Persuasion has a need to persuade. Okay. So anyway, this right here, the fact that she says Xana and Ethan were with me amongst all of this. No, it was just normal, like everything. Everyone seemed fine. Xana and Ethan were with me, and it was totally normal. Like there was nothing weird or out of place or suspicious. This is a huge red flag, and she is mentioning Xana and Ethan. Okay, so this helps support what what we've talked about with proper introductions and closeness and distance when it comes to Xana and Ethan. Okay, so that's why I feel it's very important to kind of go over this. Okay, so let's keep going. There is no dialogue with any of the victims, according to the subject. Okay, according to this statement, we are not given any dialogue. Okay, underscoring psychological distancing with all 4 victims. Okay, regardless of order of when they're mentioned. Okay, there are no proper introductions for the victims. Okay, so here's where we're going to talk about this. Proper introductions should sound something like my friend, whoever, Charlie, my friend, Benjamin, my roommate, Theodore, my sister or my brother, Jake. Okay, we have my denoting closeness, it's possessive, it's intimate, and however they're related, would it be friend, mom, dad, roommate, whatever. So my friend and their name. Okay, that's what we're looking for with proper introductions. Okay, that's what we call proper introductions. She gives no proper introductions to any of the victims. Okay, again, underscoring psychological distancing with all 4 victims. There's no concern displayed for the victims and what they endured. Underscoring psychological distancing with all 4 victims. I'd argue there's more concern for herself than the victims. Okay, so here's some counts just for my analytical brain. Kaylee's name is uttered 21 times by the subject. Maddie's name is uttered 11 times, and Mogan, which is apparently a nickname for Maddie, her last name, is uttered 6 times. Okay. So we can call that 17. We can call 11 and 6. All right. And I just want to talk about this a little bit. I went back and I looked at the analysis. I got like a little fruit fly or something. I went back and looked, and I couldn't see a pattern between the use of Maddie and Mogan. Okay. This is where I'm not skilled enough. Okay. Maybe there's something there, I just don't have really much to add to that. I did not think about this when I was going through it. I went back and reanalyzed it, and I don't know that I can say much about it. Okay. Other than she says, she mentions,
My apologies, Dog Mom, that when there's over 300 people in here and I'm trying to do this and follow that, when we have something like this, it's hard to see the chat sometimes. So I'm so sorry I didn't see you at first. My apologies. I try to keep up with everybody. I promise. Okay. None of us ever ignore anybody. But when we're reading this and listening to something like this, you get focused in sometimes. So I apologize if you felt ignored. It's never, ever the goal in here. We don't do that. So my apologies again.
Mogan is what we call her. And she says, sorry. Okay. But then she doesn't continue to use Mogan. She actually goes back to Maddie. And then she uses Mogan. So that's why I'm saying I can't really see much to talk about there. Xana's name is uttered 13 times. Okay. So we have 21, 11, and 6 for Maddie, Mogan, 13 for Xana, which is even less. And then Ethan's name is uttered 3 times by the subject, the entire statement. Okay. So this just kind of shows a potential psychological priority of closeness. So again, I am contending my own conclusion. I'm less sure about my conclusion. The fact that Kaylee's voice and the noise and stuff, again, I'm an amateur. So I'm just going to be humble and say, hey, my conclusion there might be off. It might be both. I'm not sure. Okay. This is a really interesting thing to think about. And I wanted to clarify this too. The word we denotes unity. Okay. So I want to talk about that a little bit. So I'll switch the screen up a little bit here. So Peter taught an example of a specific example of sexual abuse or a rape scenario where the alleged victim was, hanging out with the guy, and she uses we. We went to this place, and then we went and parked the car, and then she explains that the sexual abuse or the rape occurred, and then after that, she uses we again, and Peter teaches that right there shows deception, because a victim would not use we after it happened. Psychologically, there is no more we. There is them. There is that bad man, that criminal, that horrible guy, whatever. But we will not be used. We is reflective of psychological unity. Okay. So let's go back to this. Hopefully I explained that well enough. The subject's utterances of we in a sentence without dropping we. Okay. Without dropping we, here were the 9 uses of we for Dylan. She said, obviously, yes, we were drinking. We do not know who we is here. Okay. She says, we just all went to bed. We have some persuasion here. Just is thinking about 2 or more things. Said another way, we only did the one thing, not the other thing. Not some of us, something like that. I'm not sure what she was thinking about, but just tells us that her brain was thinking about something else other than all went to bed. So, and we also don't know who.
Welcome, Moto. Thanks for joining us, brother. I appreciate you.
Hey, good to see you guys.
Absolutely wonderful to have you here, bro.
It was not explained. Here it's in red because this is a redacted portion. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But this was not super clear, and this was apparently before Dylan got home. She says, was the house we went to for a little bit. Okay. It's so redacted. I don't know who she's talking about. It was before the house. That's all I basically know. We also have, and then we all went to bed. She said it again. a little bit different, okay? And then denotes a passage of time, missing information. We all went to bed. There was not a proper explanation of this, of who all was. Names weren't meant, all the 4 victims weren't mentioned, but we just don't know. We don't know who we is. Who is she uniting with? Okay, that's what we're trying to figure out. We don't know. Okay, so far we just don't know who we is. Maddie, Moog, sorry, we call Moog. Mogan is Maddie and Kaylee. Okay, so I don't know who we is, right? I'm not going to say it for her if she cannot say it. I don't know if we, we just don't know. Okay. We do notice though that call, this is like, in general, right? In general, this is not recounting a certain time. This is not historical present tense, recounting what had happened. This is not recalling memories. So this could be just a collective we, we as in everyone in school. I have no idea. Yeah, we all have our own rooms. So this is in reference to the roommates, okay? Again, this is a general, not a we at a specific time. Although this is nice here, have, instead of had, it's a present tense, which is good. What is it in reference to? It's in reference to our own rooms. Well, I believe later in the statement, it could be earlier, but we know that based on what she's saying, Ethan is dating Xana and they share that room. So this is interesting that she said that. Okay. If we really want to drill this down here, there's a contradiction here. And so we appears to be her, Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie. That's who we is, which would indicate further psychological distancing with Ethan. Okay. Yeah. 7. Okay, so here's 3 right here. Okay. We lock the door and just go to bed. Who is we? Okay. Who is we? I don't know. It seems like it's with redacted. I can only go based on what the transcript and what I understand from this statement. I don't want to interpret it. I don't want to force stuff outside of the statement. No one's waking up and we have like a really bad feeling. Okay. How can she know what someone else has a really bad feeling? This is speaking for someone else. This is a concerning statement that we got to understand. We got to ask.
Okay, let's stop here for just a minute. Pause this. Welcome again, Moto. Good to have you here. Eddie, Moto, any thoughts on this pause right here with what we've heard thus far? If not, of course, I understand, but
I don't think so thus far.
Okay. Moto, anything from you, bro?
No, not yet, Dago.
Okay, no problem. Let me know if you guys need me to stop at some specific point or anything. As always, just no worries. I'm just trying to make sure there's nothing in between that we're going to miss, because sometimes there's a lot of information to take in and then you may forget things. So we're good. On we go.
How do you know that?
Welcome, Witchy.
She's not saying X person said to me, I have a really bad feeling. And I said, me too. That's not what she's saying. She's just saying we have like a really bad feeling. Well, this is not what we want to see. This is not likely to be true because I had a bad feeling. Simple. We also have like here. Okay. This is not, she's not saying a simple speaking for herself. I had a bad feeling. She is also caveating it, like a really bad, right? He said we needed to call the cops. Now, who is we? The important thing here is in her mind, she is united with someone, okay, who is not a victim, all right? this is part of why I concluded, this is a huge reason. In fact, let me be clear. Huge reason why I concluded that there was likely someone else involved. Okay? There's someone else involved. It's because of her use of we. All right? Now, but again, her use of we, or lack thereof, for with the victims underscores severe psychological distancing with all four. Okay. So let's keep going here. I have a note on Xana here. Okay. On Xana. So there's a few things here we're going to go over. And I just picked really important parts regarding Xana. There's not a ton. But the investigator says, where's Xana? That's my floor. There's very cryptic words there. We're talking about who, right? She's a person. That's my floor, not she lives on the floor with me. And I covered this in my analysis. Very cryptic words there. Okay. Not going to say it for her, but to use that, there's a difference between things and people. Okay. So this is dangerously close to calling Xana a that. Okay. I'm not going to say it for her, but it's cryptic in that sense. It's concerning. It's a flag. Okay. It's a red flag. She also says my floor, right? There's some possessiveness there. Your floor, she's closest to the bathroom on my floor. Sorry about that. She's closest to the bathroom on my floor. So the bathroom is what I started really thinking about. In my conclusions, I said Xana's and Ethan's final moments were in Xana's bedroom. Again, I am kind of reconsidering that. I'm a little less sure. So I do feel like it's challenged upon reinspection, upon my own reinspection. So, and I hope to kind of show you why. Xana is dating Ethan, who was in the room with her. Okay. Who was in the room with her. Okay. Was. I don't know what she means, but was is past tense. Okay. So is what she's saying is that where's Xana now in her mind? I don't know. I don't know if she's saying this as if she's gone now and that's her last place. I'm not sure. I'm not going to say it for her, but it is something to consider. So when you open the door, you thought you heard Kaylee crying in the bathroom. Yeah, but it could have been Xana. But I thought it was Kaylee at the time. Xana and the bathroom. Okay, so we're seeing some connection here with the bathroom. Okay, who was in the room? All right, she's closest to the bathroom. Okay, living room. You're at the living room. To the right is the bathroom and Xana's room. Okay, so bathroom and Xana are really close together here in the sentence. Okay, so I'm not making a declarative statement here. I'm just saying, there's an argument against my conclusion. So yes, I'm arguing with myself. Isn't that funny? Okay, so you got the stairs that are here on the second floor. You got the bathroom here. Bathroom and Xana's room right around here. So we can have this as well. Okay. Subject, Xana. This is an interesting thing here. She first wanted to say she, then she wanted to then clarify Xana. Okay. Not a huge note, but might indicate some even support our what we're noticing with psychological distancing with Xana specifically. Okay. She did clarify and she did say her name, which that's good. We want to see that. But she started with she. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this because it happened again. So Xana's in between the bathroom and the kitchen. Yes. Pretty much there's like a wall. So she's thinking about a wall now. She says yes. So Xana is in between the bathroom and the kitchen. Yes, pretty much there's like a wall and there's kitchen. Then there's a bathroom. Okay. So this is an interesting statement. Again, I'm an amateur, guys, and I'm sure a professional would delve into this a whole other level or two or three. But this stands out to me. Okay. This makes me wonder if my conclusion is wrong. So Xana's on your floor, but she was upstairs with Kaylee and Mogan. No, she was in a room. She was in a room. Okay. investigator, subject, and Ethan was in an investigator finish for her room, Xana's room as well. Okay. So I don't know if this would lean more towards Xana's final moment would be in her room. I'm kind of hemming and hawing here. Okay. I want to be fair. I want to be objective and not just show you what I think. I want to show you, I just want to show you the truth. Okay. It could go both.
Witchy, thank you. Said I love the music night. I was telling my partner I know this because this case broke something in all of us, and I could tell it was hitting. Oh, it was, yeah. It truly was. That's why I did that, and we'll be doing it a little more often because there's waiting too long to have a decompression thing on this. It really just scrambles your brain. So we'll be doing it a little more often than I had been doing it. So we have another one coming up here real soon, just so everybody knows, just in case. If you're interested, make sure you tune in. It's always a decent time. I enjoy it a lot. So anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Whoops, that's the investigator. So we're going to leave that alone. Later in the statement, Xana, after there was a break, and then the investigator came back with Dylan, excuse me. He asked her about something that they had found out. And so they get back in the room, and Dylan says, and then when Kaylee was at Winco, Xana,
welcome.
So she corrected herself again. This is twice where she went to say she instead of Xana. Okay. Might indicate it was more comfortable for her to say she than it was to say Xana. Okay. All right. So we're going to change the subject here, and I want to talk about they. Okay. They is a big one. They is a big one. That word in this statement, if you know, you know.
I want to be honest with you guys too. I'm very grateful to Travis. You know how much I've learned since he came out with this stuff. Truly and honestly, my wife did some of this when she went and got her degrees. It was part of some of her classes and stuff, but I didn't get that involved with her with this. You don't realize sometimes the basis of such small things, certain words and what they actually could mean and how you can evaluate it and review what reviewing it could bring to mind for this. And it really does say a lot, in my opinion. So I'm very grateful to Travis for putting this out there. I'm learning from him, who, in my opinion, he learned from one of the best. So again, very grateful to him for that. I'm going to be sure to let him know that as well, because this has really opened my eyes a lot with certain things. And again, I think it's justified a lot of our thoughts over the past 3 years too. So I think that's important. So just wanted to say again, sorry for interrupting.
Really got me, threw me for a loop. So let's go into it, okay? The investigator says, okay, and you didn't see anybody come downstairs. Did you hear anything else? The subject says, no, but adds on her own accord, I don't even know how they got in, okay? I think it's tempting to go, oh my gosh, there's a they. But we have to understand the context of how this is happening. She is not saying this in a reliable way, okay? She is not saying, I saw 2 men break in. Simple, I saw, it's declarative, it's very likely to be true. It's what we look for truthful statements, okay? This is not a truthful statement, okay? Number one, did you hear anything else was the question. The investigator is asking, and you didn't see anybody come downstairs. Did you hear anything else? This is not in relation to how they got in, okay? She's being uncooperative with the investigator.
So there's that right there. I'm going to stop real quick. It's something that he keeps referring to that is very telling that I hope you guys are catching too. The word they is used a lot by her. They. Not I, not he, not him. Okay, they. Which institutes what, folks? Multiple perpetrators, okay? not a perpetrator, but multiple perpetrators. When you refer to the word they, we all know this automatically. Whether she's thinking she's doing it or not, she's obviously not thinking. We know that because it's probably not that easy for her. Anyway, sorry, I'm not going to go into that. But I don't know how they got in. Without, in my opinion, subconsciously, she's telling us right there. They. I wish it would be just, or the police officer would have said, who's they? They who? How many's they? Oh, I meant he. I don't know how he got in. I don't know. That's what would have happened, but it didn't. And again, that's the point behind this, guys. This is huge. Very big to me. Because again, how many times has Dylan told on herself in her interview? I can name multiple times to you. This is a big one. How they got in. I don't know how they got in. That's huge. Dylan, why do you think they left you alone? Well, they must have known me and tried to protect me. Again, multiple times this girl has told on herself in the interviews. It's insane. But again, hence the reason why I'm grateful to this gentleman for doing what he's doing. So, and again, yes, Travis will be joining Miss Logan at Bronx Tales True Crime, 6:30 p.m. this evening, guys. Make sure you don't miss that. And as I said, for those of you that may have just jumped in, Travis is going to be joining us right here on the Verdict Room this Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am super excited for that. So make sure you guys are there for that too.
Investigator. She's talking about what she doesn't know. The investigator doesn't want to know what she doesn't know. The investigator wants, and the greater public, I mean, in this scenario, it's crystal clear. She is one of the few and maybe the most important witness and or a testimony or her experience could make or break this case. She is so vital to understanding what happened to these four. She was, based on her own statement, she was in the house when, as she said, everything happened, or everything, or the thing, I can't remember, but thing happened. So I don't even know how they got in. This has a lot of problems with it. They should not be something that we run with. That's my opinion. We should strongly question the use of they. And personally, I put this in deception category. Okay. She continues on and says, we're usually pretty good about locking doors. So she goes into what often happens. Usually stands out. Normal, right? Again, we go back to normal. This should be same thing as normal. Should be purple. We're usually, she's talking for numerous people. She's not saying I. We're usually pretty good, caveated, about locking doors. And we've never had problems before. Well, we know after looking at the whole statement, that's absolutely not true. According to Dylan, in this statement, they've come home and the door was wide open. Okay? So that doesn't make sense. And then we have another addition here that she offered up. Like, caveat, it was in the past, just she's thinking about two different things. She's thinking about something else other than really random. Not random, maybe. Don't know. I'm not going to say it for her. But we wonder about just. Like it was just really random. Again, this is she trying to say that she's omniscient and she knows whether it was random or not? How could she possibly say that? This, looking at the full context of this, looking at the investigator's question, the no, and then all this other stuff, they should not be relied on. I have a strong opinion about that. Okay. It's my opinion. Yeah. Okay. This is something else that I missed. Regarding social media posts. Okay. This was early in the analysis. When I first started, the analysis, I really honed in on when he began with, so tell me what you know. This was before that. This was in all a bunch of redacted area. Okay. But I'm going through it again, and I just think it's really important to talk about. And I'm sure there's people that have wondered about this.
Thank you so much, Christina Finley, for the super chat. God bless. Very much appreciate. I think that's number one towards our goal for today. Thank you. Thank you. Or wait a minute. Let me check something. Nope, not number one. This looks like we got Mary Holt dropped one, 1111 dropped one, and Christina number 3. And again, Cinderella Ella, welcome to the sauce. Thank you for joining us. And again, Michelle F, thank you for dropping that membership. All of you guys, thank you so very much, and God bless. I appreciate you all so very much.
The investigator asked, do you have any pictures, any video, anything like that, any social media posts? Okay. This is not a specific question. All right. This is not a specific question. What, if you really wanted to take this question to its fullest meaning and its actual meaning, he's asking any pictures, any video, anything like that, any social media posts, period, in his story, in all time. This is not specific. Do you have any pictures, any video, anything like that, any social media posts today, over the last 24 hours? He's not being specific. Okay. So there's definitely a caveat about that. But the subject simply says no. Dylan says no. So I have some text here. The subject, we presume, is innocent, has no guilty knowledge, and has a measure of willingness to help assist law enforcement in identifying and apprehending the criminals who murdered 4 roommates of hers. Okay. No here, in its absolute sense, would mean that the subject doesn't have any pictures, video, social media.
Welcome, Senor. Good to see you, brother. Thank you for being here. Great show today.
Post or anything like that. Okay. Viewing the evidence of this claim is outside the scope of statement analysis. All right. However, this would be something an investigator should have investigated and hopefully did. If it were to be found that she had any pictures, video, or any social media posts related to the roommates, the house, etc., then no here would be a clear lie. Okay. And just from a human aspect, if she had any pictures, video, or social media posts related to the roommates, within the last 24 hours, the last week, I mean, really, even the last year, it would be a very bad sign. Okay, sorry, I'm hopping all over the place here. I suck at just reading stuff, and my mind goes all over the place. Any picture, post, video within the last 24 hours, last week, even the last year would be helpful.
We appreciate you being here, self-help as well. Grateful to have you in the house. Thank you so much.
For investigators, I would think. A simple no here indicates a lack of cooperation, which is exactly the opposite of our presumption of her innocence. Okay. And a presumption of her willingness to help. They go hand in hand. So, upon further review, this was a pretty big red flag right from the get-go. Okay. And I did talk about it. That's my fault. Talking about it now. Okay. So a note on redactions. So this is a major redacted area in the analysis. This is about 2 minutes, 7 seconds to 2 minutes, 36 seconds. In the video, in the transcript, and I didn't talk about this much. Okay, and I just want to say about the redactions here. I know redactions are frustrating. They really put a huge caveat on my analysis and what we can glean from it. Because again, the proper introductions. I mean, there's a huge caveat. If none of those 4 names are redacted, okay, well that helps, but. I mean, I don't know that. I don't know what exactly is redacted. I don't know if certain names are redacted. I don't know if a couple of words were redacted as well. Okay, so I'm going to we're going to read this together. The redactions in this statement are a hindrance and a caveat my analysis in terms of introductions, timeframes, etc. In part 1, I didn't analyze this portion due to redactions, talking about this. However, we do have a portion that here is very important. Okay, so it's right here. Subject was the house we went to for a little bit. Well, we talked about the we right here earlier. And then passage of time, it was just me, like who came home, and then redacted later. Okay. 2 passages of time. It was just me. Okay. We talked about just. She's thinking about someone or something else other than me. It was just me, like, okay. So this is what I'm talking about. After was the house we went to for a little bit. We don't know whose house this was due to redactions. Dylan indicates a passage of time with, and then it was just me, like who came home, has some sensitivity indications that we need to unpack. I came home is a simple sentence. It was just me, like who came home, has unnecessary words. It was just me denotes possible persuasion here and an indication that 2 or more were being.
Thank you, Janice. God bless. Very much appreciated. Very, very much appreciated. Thank you again. So very generous of you.
Thought about when employing just. Also, like is a caveat denoting the indication of a possible deception here. She couldn't commit to, it was just me who came home. Okay. It was just me, like, who came home. Okay. Again, I came home. It's simple. There's no caveats. There's no persuasion. Truth doesn't need reinforcement. Okay. We wonder about the truthfulness of this because she throws in these indicators, these extra indications. All right. And then she indicates a passage of time. Okay. After this, we do not know what this is in reference to due to the redactions in terms of later. Did someone else come home later? We don't know. I've had people reach out to me to try to understand what the redactions are covering. Some to say, hey, we know what these redactions are. The problem with this is we don't know the extent of the redactions. Unless then I can have someone tell me in maybe authority or something like that, some sort of proof that we know exactly who and what's redacted. Do we only know that names were redacted? I don't think that's clear. Were there other precious words that we don't have? Because this is not crystal clear, we don't have that assurance. It would be improper to draw any conclusion based on best guesses. I am simply staying away from speculation. I want to analyze the facts and the integrity of the statement to reach respectable and supported conclusions. Okay. So I know this is kind of a lot of housekeeping. Some of this is neat. Some of this is kind of boring. Some of this is like yada, yada, yada. Okay. CYA, as one of my mentors used to say. You can Google that if you don't know what that means. But no, seriously, I want to provide the truth. As best to my knowledge, is very, very important to me. As I was explaining to someone else today, one of my biggest fears is deceiving people. I don't want to deceive anyone. And I do feel a strong burden to honor Peter Height's training, his name, his work. And I don't want to do anything that could possibly disparage him or his training. Any issues with my analysis is not a reflection of him. It's not a reflection of the deficiencies in statement analysis. It's merely and simply a reflection of the deficiency of me, my mind, and my brain. And I have a personal life. I have a day job. I have a lot going on, and I do the best I can to provide the statement analysis done properly to the best that I can. So I appreciate y'all. I'm almost to an hour, so that's perfect. That's all I was shooting for. I hope this helps. And I'm not sure exactly yet who I am going to analyze next. I did look into a couple others. I looked into Bethany a little bit more. I looked into Lakeland. I've gotten lots of the recommends for others. I'm not sure yet, but look out for my next video. And I hope y'all have a blessed day. Yeah, God bless.
All right, you guys. My hand wasn't moving fast enough. Sorry about that. 1 minute.
Where did Ed go? Did he fall out the window?
Say that again.
I said, where did Eddie go? Did he fall out the window?
His phone battery, he said, wasn't doing that well. So he had to hop out, unfortunately. Give me 1 minute here.
Gonna have to start calling him Dylan if he can't find a charger.
Yeah, right. All right. So, any thoughts on the post-analysis review for that? For you, I should say.
I missed the complete first portion of that. So,
Gotcha.
Well, what about you?
I think he's pretty much on point based on what I believed already. He's pointed it directly at where I thought. Like I said, a lot of the word "they" that's used the way it is says a whole lot to me. It definitely points to the fact that there's more than one person in there, and I think she knows that. She's known that. She always knew that, in my opinion. So I'll just say that. That's a big part of this. And I truly believe at this point now, based on what he said, that he believes she's absolutely guilty of something. Lying, that she has guilty knowledge, and many other things possibly. Going into this under, how can I say it? as unbiased as you could be for this case without having, even with the basic knowledge, it makes you slightly biased, I would say, to some aspect. But I do believe that, in my opinion, and we'll get more into that this Saturday when I have him on join us, as to what his absolute thoughts are on this one. And I'm going to talk to him about um, Bethany, because I do believe he's doing Bethany as well, and I think that one's important. I think that one's going to show a lot of opposition to what Dylan's did, if that makes any sense. I don't think Bethany lies as much as her. I'll just say that.
Well, I didn't think this guy was gonna stick up for them very long after he really started reading through their statements. I think it made a lot of us feel, even more resentment against Dylan and Bethany.
I fully agree with you. And again, like I said, I think it justifies what we've said for 3 to 4 years at this point. It goes going on 4 years.
Yeah.
And he absolutely justifies it without any of the knowledge that we even had. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I guess pretty soon it's going to be like 3.5 years.
Yeah, it's coming. It's definitely coming. Where are we at now? Yeah, we're heading into June, so.
Was he doing was he breaking down the part where they had everybody in the house, or like?
It was basically the first interview she did.
Oh, okay.
The entire thing. So, there was another point I was going to make, and I completely lost my train of thought. Thank you, Beach Babe. Trying to remember, you guys. Hang on. Bear with me. Wow, it's just gone. I love it. Love it. Anyway, I believe that's where that's left it at. There's going to be more conversation. Like I said, tonight he will be joining Logan for Bronx Tales. Check that out. You don't want to miss that.
That should be pretty interesting.
I think it will be, yeah, because Logan's really intelligent. She knows the right questions to ask and point to, specific things, and I can't wait. And then Saturday is going to be even better, in my opinion, because it'll be all of us, and we'll be able to pick his brain and get feelings from him for sure. So I'd like to
see Dylan just drill him, or sorry, Logan just drill him.
Yeah,
just give him the gears, ask him the really hard questions.
Well, and he's he's a really nice guy. So he's very understanding, I think, based on things I've seen. And that's what I'm looking forward to, is him being able to answer those questions. I know Logan probably would. I agree with that. So truly and honestly. E-Potty, what's happening? Good to see you. Fox Mulder, huh?
I don't know. I get usually I get Bradley Cooper, but that's I don't see that.
Well, I'll go with Mulder too. I'm a huge David Duchovny fan. X-Files was my favorite show, for most of my life.
I loved the X-Files. I would always beg my parents to watch it.
Right. So I could watch it again and again. So we're gonna jump into the feedback version of this now. Just 1 minute. Yeah, thank you, SRB. Keeping me in line. Thank you. Great to see you in the house, Potty. Thank you for joining us. Give me 1 minute. One minute here. Hold on. with me, you guys. Thank you for your patience. Brian Todd's in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Miss Wendy, good to see you. I'm sorry I didn't say hello. Moonflower, always wonderful to see you, dear. Thank you for being here. Of course, Ms. Kiki, thank you for joining us. Meanie, good to see you as well.
I
Awesome.
really hope they come out with like a new X-Files where I think they tried to bring it back for a little bit, like for one season.
There
And
were
then-
6 episodes, and it didn't sit well. They're
No.
talking about redropping it again, though.
Oh, really, eh?
Yeah. Yes. Croft, welcome. And that's Molly created that. It's my outro song. We can drop the link to Molly's channel to show you the other stuff she's done. And it's all over there. So go check her out as well. But thank you for that. I appreciate you. 1 minute. SRB, check Discord real quick there, please. And thank you. Lenny Briscoe's in the house. Good to see ya. Says it seems like that many know what happened, but no one's talking. A conspiracy with University LE, CIA, AK, Greek Life, and the ranking community members like JFK, TWA 800, OKC. We may never know, and that's a sad point to say. I hope you're wrong, but you could be right. I'll just say that much. Thank you. There's Molly's link, guys. Go check it out. Yes, I watched both the X-Files movies like 13 times for both of them.
I wonder when this case is going to pick up again, though. Like, there hasn't been a document drop or anything for a long time. I mean, the only thing that's happened was that tiny little hearing about the EMU or EWU or whatever that was.
Well, and isn't that interesting to you that there's been zero, like the documents are completely halted? Completely. It's crazy.
And there's no way we've reached the end, right? So
nope, not even close.
Like,
sorry, you guys. Yeah, that's something we're going to be talking about on the new channel, Cafe Conspiracy Flight 800. Things a lot like that stuff, guys. So look forward to that.
what's your first topic going to be?
Well, I'm debating right now. I don't know if you've heard anything or looked into the missing scientists that keep disappearing.
Yeah, that's been kind of all over the place.
Yeah, that's going to be, it's either that one or there's like 15 other things I can get into. They're going to be exciting though, because we're going to do what we're doing right now as well. Have panel discussions, break them down, look at all the details, everything. So
one thing that I always kind of thought would be interesting so you don't like start at what's the name of that island where they sat around and they decided to enact the Federal Reserve. You start at that time and timeline. You just do like a bird's eye view of all the conspiracies that have happened over the years in order. And then you just start at the first one and you work your way through all the way to the end.
That's a good idea too. Absolutely. So there's so many things that I have wanted to talk about. Hold on 1 minute here. Hold on. That drives me nuts. 1 second, buddy.
Yeah, Jekyll Island. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. There's so many things. I'll be doing, like I said, panel discussions on it. Hold on a minute. Again, Lord. All right. I'll be doing panel discussions on it. Just multiple different breakdowns. Guests, I'll be having guests join us for it, so on and so forth. So yeah, I can't wait.
You're gonna get JJ on, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah. JJ, Birdie, anybody that's into this type of stuff, we're going to be trying to reach out and have them join us and get their feelings and opinions on things. So I'm really, really excited about it, you guys. Really excited.
Did you ever see the channel? Have you ever heard of the channel called The Black Vault?
Black Vault?
Yeah,
I don't think so. No.
that guy would be really interesting to get on.
Okay.
And there was a guy that's on Uncharted X. He was on Rogan, but he's the kind of guy I think he would definitely hop on a panel like this.
Sounds good.
He's all into Egypt and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many topics, you guys. So many things. There's a whole something at some point I'll be getting into the theory behind the hidden city or lost city that's underneath the Grand Canyon in Arizona. This, of course, of course, the city of Atlantis. That's a big thing of mine. Always has been. The Malaysian flight 800 or whatever the hell that one was too. Just everything that you can think of that is has a conspiracy theory behind it. We're going to talk about it. I'll even get into JFK, Marilyn Monroe. There's so many things. Like it's going to just take us out forever.
You know what? This Idaho 4 case is going to be the next JFK, or it's going to be the next JFK, or it's going to be the next Zodiac killer.
Oh yeah, I've said that. I said that probably 2 years ago. Like this is falling right into the same bucket as JFK, especially with all the redactions and all of it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, the thing about the Zodiac killers, they never hit anything about that case, but they just couldn't solve who it was because nobody knew how to break his code.
I think it was. I'll be honest with you. With Zodiac, I covered Zodiac. I think Zodiac is a law enforcement officer and very possibly one of the law enforcement officers that was working the case. That's always been my theory on that case. And again,
I remember watching the A&E episode about it. They did a couple different episodes, but each ending for the A&E episode, they had like a slightly different conclusion at the end.
Yeah.
And there was always I think there was a law enforcement person included in that. And there was a few other people that were similar or looked similar.
Yeah, right.
To the description, right, on that piece of paper.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. Agreed. Yeah, this is going to be I don't think this case will ever go away. And I think it's going to be in that same, I agree. I mean, already you can see it with the redactions. I mean, come on.
It's just sad that, they're going to make us feel like fools for who knows how many years before any of this is all brought out in the wash. It just sucks.
Fully agree with you. Absolutely. It's insane. It really truly is insane how and what's going to be the worst part of it, in my opinion, Moto, is the reason why. Okay? It's going to end up being something that became, in my opinion, of course, something that became way more than it needed to, when at some point somebody could have just told the truth somewhere and it probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal. I mean, it's still a big deal. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to downplay that and the murders by any means. But the reason behind it was probably something that could have been understood at some point somewhere, and they've sprawled it out so far now that it's too late. It's unreachable, in my opinion. At this point.
The parallel with JFK is a simple fact that I doubt there's very many people left that had anything to do with the JFK case.
That's
so why keep it redacted, or why keep it hidden from the public?
Because
there's no reason for it, unless it has something to do with law enforcement.
Well, it does, in my opinion. It always has, yeah.
And that's the parallel with the Idaho 4 case.
And it's just like Eddie just said, it's every bit as big as JFK in that aspect, yes. But the consequence is not as big, in my opinion. Okay, I'll say that because of what the outcome would be. Now, let me say this. Right. That's true. You don't work this hard to hide something that has any truth in it. That's a fact. In a fact. Yeah, I think, like, to answer your question, my opinion on that with the JFK thing was that the most everybody that was involved in that is passed away at this point. The problem is there's still some people that aren't, I think, and some of those people, I think, are what could be the reason why. Like, it's going to have to be the 100-year blackout type situation where it's got to bypass 100 years before it'll even, and then at that point, nobody's going to give a shit, is what they believe. Probably there will be people. There will be people. Like my son, for instance, is following behind me. He's very interested in this kind of stuff, and he may end up doing his own thing someday about this kind of stuff. But there's people that pick up the slack when we pass away.
The problem is after that amount of time, it doesn't matter if they tell you the truth or not, because the truth is lost so far in the wind.
Yes.
Same with this case. Even if they came out and told you the truth today, would you believe it?
That's what I was saying yesterday. I believe there's going to be at least a variance of 2 whistleblowers that are going to come forth on this. And JJ brought up an amazing, huge point when we were talking about that on Crimes After Dark last week. If that happens, when that happens, okay, who's going to believe it after everything we've been through? Why, if they fought so hard to keep the truth from us, okay, why is it? It's not okay. Let me say what, not why, but it's going to be very hard for anybody to say, how do we know this is the truth? How do we know that you're just not trying to change the channel on us again? And shut us up by saying, here's the truth. This is what happened. And here you go. And there will be people that'll be like, oh my God, finally, thank God. And they'll shut up about it, move on, and that'll be it for them. A lot of us will say, okay, thank you, but I don't know that I believe that. Do you know what I mean? Because we've been told so many lies and it's been shifted so many times that a lot of us are going to even question that. So
I don't know. Like, I mean, whoever, came up with the grand scheme of something called the government and political parties is, they were geniuses, because
right.
Even though, we've lost faith in our governments, it doesn't matter. We still can't get them out of office. If we say we replace our prime minister today, they bring in a new guy, he's not going to change a damn thing. Nothing's going to change. You're still not going to have any faith in the government.
They follow a script. They have to. That's part of the law or part of the rules.
They've pulled the wool over our eyes so many times, and they stay in power without a hitch. The show still goes on.
Absolutely.
Rinse and repeat.
I fully agree with that, and that's just the way it has to be. Another thing we're going to end up talking about on the other channel too, since we're talking about this real quick, is like the dark government or the black government, whatever you want to call it, whether it exists or doesn't. Well, look at what we deal with on a daily basis. Look at what we know and we don't know. You can pretty much answer that question on your own with things we've seen, but we're going to break it down more in depth at some point because it's a thing. It's a real thing. Most people don't believe that our government is who's in control of what we do. And that they don't even believe that there's people that believe that the government is not the government. Okay. They're just figureheads put in place to make us believe what that we believe. So,
well, no, I mean, essentially it's starting from the second person from the top. It's all about oppression. And, it has to do with money. And like they control us with paper. We're controlled by paper.
That's true.
Right? I mean, there's no value to it. It's just some ink.
That is a fact. You are absolutely, and that's an amazing point. It's something else we're probably going to delve into with it that I used to look into years ago. Is how can a bunch of little rectangle pieces of paper have the control over human beings the way that it does? And it really does, because it doesn't truly have any value based on anything other than the fact that they say it does. That's it. But it has more value than anything on the planet.
The whole point, well, that's why the EU split up. That's why they don't use the euro dollar anymore, right? Because essentially it was a fiat currency. They tried to manipulate it, and it busted.
Right.
What we have today is not a fiat currency. Fiat currency is backed by something tangible, something like gold, something that people need to survive, right? We don't need oil to survive. We can still walk to the store.
Yep.
It's going to take us a lot longer, but we can still walk to the store. If we stop buying oil today, the only thing that would happen is those massive companies will lose tons of money.
They won't allow that to happen ever. Exactly. You are correct. If you think about what we had before we had motor vehicles, okay, what before any of that came to the table ever, people got where they had to go. People that followed the Oregon Trail, it may have taken months and years, but they got where they wanted to go on wooden wheels, on their feet, and things like that. We still have bicycles and human powered things that can get us where we got to go when we have to go. And people, human beings, are very intelligent people. There is a way. There have been ways proven already that you don't need fuel. Okay, those people disappear that come up with those ideas immediately. You know how that goes because it
Well,
takes money out of everybody's pocket.
just to answer somebody's question there, she said oil isn't everything, and she's absolutely right. I mean, it's in our plastics. It's part of our manufacturing processes. You know, there's oils in our food, maybe not petrol
Yeah.
oil, but
Right.
she's right. It is in everything. But you know what? Before we had any of those things, we still were able to function. We were still able to live. Like if Tupperware goes away tomorrow, I don't think we'll die.
I fully agree. We don't need these things to survive, you guys. We just choose these things to survive, okay? Just like cell phones and TVs, and people survived without all these things for many, many years before, okay? So the thing that kills me about the oil, okay? If you look into the oil reserves that we have here in the United States on our own land, we have enough to survive. Like, I can't even remember how long it said, but we keep going overseas and getting our shit from other people. Like, why wouldn't we use any of ours? You know what I'm saying? It just never made sense to me. They act like we don't have anything at all, but we do. Thank you, E-Party. Very much appreciated. What the hell? Hold on.
Well, it's kind of like this. If you have tons and tons and tons of oil and you use everybody else's, well, guess what? It maybe not in 100 years, maybe not in 200 years, but in 300 years, if they deplete their oil reserves and you have tons, well, guess what?
Right.
Guess what happens? That's why everybody's afraid to use their own resources. It's not because it's because you're devaluing a country's wealth, or you're essentially depleting a country's wealth and depleting their power.
Right.
When you're buying the reserves from them.
Agreed. I fully agree.
What would you rather do? Trade a bunch of paper? What would you rather do? Have a bunch of paper or have a bunch of oil that you can use for energy?
I mean, yeah. The energy, obviously. You know, I mean, that's how that works. But there's other ways to do it. There was a guy that I covered on when I was just talking about one day when I used to do the morning show thing, that figured out how to create fuel out of it wasn't water, it was something else, but it was like, whoa. And then the dude disappeared. Literally. Like, where'd you go? Well, they had to shut him down, is what it was. And I'm like, you should have never came out like this. You know what I mean? Ever. But it happens all the time.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at Nikola Tesla, right?
Nikola Tesla. I was just going to say that. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
But I mean, the stories about Nikola Tesla and his, I guess his wireless transmission of power, that story might be a little bit fabricated or embellished. It's the jury's out on that one.
At that point, it would have been. But if there's people that are around like him now, okay, and are like within our government, they know all these things. They have all these things way further ahead than we think they do. And there's reasons for it.
Oh, it's quite possible.
I have no doubt.
If they can figure out like nuclear fusion, then I mean, yeah, it's pretty much game over.
Absolutely.
But I mean, they're still going to charge for it. Come on, they're still going to find a way to make a buck.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what it's all about. There's people that are put in place just to do that and that alone. And that's what they'll do always. Always and forever.
Maybe that's the cause of Idaho 4.
It could be. You never know.
Maybe Xana was a mad genius and she figured out all of her energy issues.
You couldn't. I'd have to be insanely high to even remotely believe that. But I got you.
I
got you. I knew it was a joke, right? That's an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got to have fun sometimes.
No, of course. Got to have a little bit of something to laugh at. I agree fully with you. So I wanted to review some of this with you guys. I said yesterday, we have a little time. There's no way we're going to go through the whole thing because it's a long one. Well, I mean, it's not super long, but I'm kind of going to scrub through parts of it. And I don't know if you guys have followed this channel in the past. She kind of disappeared for a while, but she showed back up. And I used to watch a lot of what she talked about back in the day. It's kind of interesting. Jesse had brought this up yesterday too. Then I said, we're going to check this out today once we get through the rest of Travis's stuff. So here we go. Again, the link is in the chat for Neek Speaks. She's back and in motion again with this case and has put out some interesting stuff. This one, was really kind of interesting to follow up with. So I'm going to play some of this. We're going to break it down and talk about it a little bit too. Again, thank you all for supporting us and being here. Eddie's battery went dead on his phone, so we had to jump down, guys. But he's in the chat, I think. So 100%. 1 minute. 1 minute. My apologies. All right. Let's check it out. Was it this one? Yeah. There was another one I was looking at last night, too, that I thought was kind of interesting, but not from her, but from another creator. All right. Let's check some of this out, guys. There's no sound? Hang on, I'm sorry. Let's try it again.
Taking a look at the Idaho Good Old Boys Club and asking the question, is Ann Taylor fighting a rigged system or is she protecting it?
Is that better, guys? I hope.
Yeah, I can hear it now.
Okay, good. Sorry about that.
Dr. Brent Turvey's revelations have me questioning this more than ever. It's something I've questioned from the get-go, but I think that Brent Turvey speaking out has a lot more people asking this question. Although she has a lot of defenders out there, not only from those who believe BK is guilty, but surprisingly from the not guilty or alt suspect camp as well. And to be fair, we've watched what many believe to be a biased court systematically crush Ann over and over. Blocked from naming alternative perpetrators, denied her review of the IgG data. But I think we should look very closely at the fact that she's turning on her own expert. And in the past, we've actually seen her turn down outside help. This goes along with what Turvey was saying, that the defense experts were very siloed and they weren't working together. The very least I can say is that Turvey added fuel to my burning question. Is Ann a victim of the Good Old Boys Club, or is she playing her part in it? Today, we're going to talk about the dirty mechanisms of the machine. I think to answer whether Ann Taylor is playing a role in this system, we don't really have to guess, right? We can listen to the people inside of her own camp. Now, I don't take everything that Turvey says as gold, and in fact, I think he has a couple of theories that I disagree with. Importantly, I think that a part of why Turvey is being attacked is because he recently broke ranks. And you don't have to take every theory that he has as gold, but the fact that he chose to speak out regarding a defendant he considers factually innocent is highly relevant to me. Turvey put a lot of emphasis on something important and something that I think is a massive structural flaw, which is the fact that defense experts were completely separated. He stated that nonetheless, they were all coming to the same conclusions, but they weren't allowed to be a part of the same loop, which I find super strange, or maybe not, because again, we have seen Anne turn down outside help before. Remember the hearing right before the plea deal? Hippler actually asked Anne why she hadn't asked for other resources. This was something I'd been complaining about years ago, was that she was saying that they were behind on time and they didn't have enough time for the massive discovery dump, yet she hadn't asked for any outside help. She hadn't asked for extra paralegals or someone to come on her team and help to parse all of that data. And in fact, when Hippler offered it, she was pretty standoffish about it. And I think this goes towards what Turvey was saying. And my question is, why would a defense attorney intentionally fracture her own team in a capital murder trial? Is it because working as a single powerful unit threatens the ecosystem? It's important to remember that Anne Taylor is not an outsider in that ecosystem. I know whenever she first got put on the case, people were like, oh, she's helped someone appeal their death penalty case before, etc. But she isn't some maverick attorney airdropped from LA to fight a corrupt system. She's the chief public defender of Kootenai County. She's worked alongside these exact prosecutors, coroners, and judges for her entire career. Now, some people will argue that Anne Taylor is an outsider because she isn't from Latah County. But the idea of distance between those neighboring counties is an illusion. It's important to go back to the beginning, right? When this case began, there were only 13 public defenders in the entire state of Idaho qualified to sit as lead counsel on a death penalty case. Latah County didn't have a single one. Anne Taylor was quite literally the only legally viable, geographically close option. She didn't come through a lottery system meant to keep public defense assignments impartial. So the whole system of death qualified attorneys in Idaho is actually meant to guarantee competent representation for defendants. But when the pool is this small, it becomes an insular system that breeds the exact bias that it's supposed to eliminate. Now, they had a whole hearing about this and told everyone, like, yeah, we decided that she's not a conflict attorney. But technically they didn't, because, I mean, they did explain to Bryan, hey, you have a right to have an attorney that doesn't have a conflict here. And essentially he agreed to keep Anne Taylor on his team. If there were no conflict at all, then there would be no need for the hearing. Not to mention, when I actually researched the framework here under Idaho's professional rules of attorneys, a conflict of interest isn't just limited to a single lawyer. The rule explicitly states that if one attorney in a public defender's office has a conflict, that conflict automatically spreads to the entire office. Legally, the whole agency is viewed as one single law firm. So when a subordinate attorney in that office was assigned to represent Kara Northington, Xana's mother, that conflict automatically attached to the entire public defender's office. And that includes the person at the very tippity top. Who is that? Anne Taylor. Some might argue they can just build a firewall or a screen between the attorneys to keep the cases separate. But here's the problem. Anne Taylor isn't just another lawyer in the building. She's the chief public defender. She runs the agency, manages the budget, and has oversight over her staff. So you have to ask yourself, how do you realistically build a firewall against a person who runs the entire office? The conflict is there on paper, and the overlapping representation is a matter of public record. So yeah, sorry if I get a little annoyed about that, but I get kind of frustrated whenever I see people say, like, no, that conflict didn't exist. They worked that out. There were all these mainstream media articles saying that Bill Thompson had a problem with it and that it was this big in-house deal, but we never saw him motion to remove Anne off the case, or they didn't disagree in the court minutes that were later published after mainstream media caught wind of the conflict. The only people who seemed to truly object to this were the Gonzalez family, and I could see why they would, because it does bring up the ineffective assistance of counsel issue and post-conviction relief. Of course, they, believing that Bryan Kohberger is guilty, didn't want him to have any remedy at all for any such thing, any such appeal or any such post-conviction relief. I mean, there is some nuance here because, historically, Idaho courts have tried to draw a distinction between private law firms and public defenders' offices, and sometimes declining to automatically impute conflicts to the entire public defender staff. if an ethical wall can be built between the attorneys. But my argument is Ann Taylor is the chief attorney there. And again, that it's structurally impossible to build such a wall with the chief public defender. That's not even to get into the nuance of whether or not the Supreme Court will uphold this conflict and actually look at relief for the defendant, because our Supreme Courts are a mess. I mean, they've kind of always been a mess, but like right now, they are an extremely hot ass mess. I'd argue much worse than they have been in the past. Now, it is my belief that Ann Taylor was a preferable option for Bill Thompson and his staff because they didn't motion to get rid of this conflict. They were perfectly fine keeping her on. And again, the fact that she's a neighboring county means she's a neighboring player, and they wanted to keep this in-house. They wanted to keep this in the panhandle. For those of you who think, no, it was a different county, so that doesn't exist. Remember when they were trying to get the trial moved and Bill Thompson was fighting back? And in his paperwork, he suggested several times that if the trial were going to be moved, it should be moved to Nez Perce County or Kootenai County. That was actually one of his preferred counties if the trial were to be moved, because again, he could keep it in-house. So again, the illusion of distance without an actual separation. These prosecutors, they know each other. The judges attend the same conferences. They rely on the same Idaho State Police investigators, the same task force. All of these neighboring counties' task force work together. They have the same forensic labs. Moving the trial 30 or 80 miles away doesn't break this loop. And that loop is beneficial to the prosecution, not the defendant, which was the whole point of the venue change, right? And these kinds of things are what makes Brent Turvey's claims about the defense team so critical to me, because it appears that Ann Taylor is actively enforcing something similar inside of her own ranks, with the exception, of course, of Becca Barlow, who was added, and she is actually an out-of-state attorney. When she was offered that bevy of paralegals, which she close to outright denied, she didn't outright deny it, but she basically said that it wouldn't help practically. And I have to question if for her, that means allowing people who are not native to her specific office to see the full scope of the state's evidence and the defense's strategy. By refusing outside help, she can keep that airtight control over what the defense did and did not know. And I saw a lot of discourse over that. People noticed that she denied those paralegals, even people who are in the what's so-called Gilder camp who believe BK did it. Of course, they were over there like, she's so full of shit. She didn't even take the paralegals that were offered to her. And I mean, as annoying as that is, they're not the only ones who are going to have that discourse, because all of that is going to be on the record and in front of the cameras. Like, she's like, that wouldn't help at this point, which with the nuance, of course, I get what she means. Like, sure, it takes a long time to bring those people up to speed, but sometimes having an outside eye can really bring something new to the table that you might need and something that other people on your team haven't seen. And I don't know, it's just another one of those small things on a long list for me anyway. And as I'll continue to point out, this isn't the only closed loop inside of this whole investigation, because they're plentiful. Remember the coroner, Kathy Maybew? She's the official who walked the crime scene, pronounced the victims dead, ordered the autopsies. She's a critical link in the chain of custody and a star medical witness for the state. But her day job is a criminal defense attorney. She has contracts right there in Moscow. The official declaring the victims dead for the prosecution is taking public defense contracts in the exact same courthouse. The legal pool here is freaking tight, you guys. And another one, of course, that I have to bring up here that I brought up early on was that Julie Fry, the clerk of the court, was actually married to the chief of police at the time, James Fry. And this one was a big one to me, because when you think about the legal system, okay, if the defense needs to do something that they don't want the prosecution to know about, something highly sensitive or a strategic move, they file what's called an ex parte motion. These are filed under seal directly to a judge, and the prosecution is legally barred from seeing them. But who processes those filings? The clerk of the court, Julie Fry. She's the physical and digital gateway between Ann Taylor and the judge. She and her staff have administrative access to these exact documents that the prosecution is supposed to be blind to. But who does she go home to at night? Her husband, the chief of police. So are they truly blind to them? I don't know. But I think that it leaves some room for doubt. And I mean, these kinds of incestuous relationships between county officials, they're not uncommon, but in these smaller places like this, they can really, really, really get tight. But this isn't some traffic court shit. This is life and death. This was a death penalty case. So yeah, these things become kind of interesting and a little bit more suspicious. And frankly, in a death penalty case, a little bit more dangerous, right? I also happen to notice in the beginning of this case that eventually the driver who took Maddie and Kaylee home that night, Eric Grower, and then at some point we got the correct name of Gower. And I was looking through the PDFs from the Moscow Police Department and discovered that there was a Gower. There was someone with that same last name who actually worked for the police department. Now, this sparked other allegations saying she was actually his wife and that his wife worked for the police department. I'm not sure if that's true or not because I never actually saw any of the research that linked that. And as far as I know, they just had the same last name and I put that out there. Now, if someone else maybe went and put two and two together, I'm not sure. You guys can point me in that direction. But point is, there's a very closed loop over there, guys. And it's my opinion that there is a reason why they couldn't have easily paid another attorney or contracted another attorney who didn't have that conflict. Because why not? Why take the risk? They actually had police going out to meet with Kara Kernodle to clear up the conflict. Like, hey, have you actually met her? And all of these things because her case was assigned to Ann Taylor's office. And Ann Taylor actually dropped Kara as a client to keep BK. Of course, because that was the bigger contract. Of course, because there was a monetary motivation to throw Kara's misdemeanor case to the side for this huge death penalty case that's about to line her pocket. Simple as that, in my opinion. We also actually saw Ann Taylor fighting alongside Bill Thompson's office against the coalition of media. They both agreed to a gag order in the case, and they both fought alongside each other, opposing the media for cameras in the courtroom. Of course, there's the nuance that Ann did not want her defendant to be tried in the media. And that's fair or whatever, but in my opinion, with a county this dirty, putting them behind the curtain becomes some whole Wizard of Oz shit because we don't need them behind the curtain. We need the curtain wide open, and the curtain's still half shut on this case. Let's go back to the beginning of trial and talk about how the prosecution was actually the one pinned against a ticking clock, and Ann actually let them off the hook. The state was dragging its feet with discovery. We know that they did not have the finalized CAST, which is the Cellular Analysis Survey Team report regarding the vehicle and device locations ready. In a capital murder case, the CAST data is the anchor of the state's timeline. If the prosecution is not ready, if they don't have their CAST data finalized, a ruthless defense strategy is to refuse to waive the time. You force the state to go to trial with half a deck. The CAST report wasn't done, therefore it doesn't come in. Instead of holding the state's feet to the fire, Ann Taylor folded. Nowadays, people don't even remember that it was the state who wanted more time, the state who needed more time. There was even hearings where Judge John Judge complained about there not being enough time, and he really didn't know how they were going to schedule all of this with the speedy trial clock ticking. He would even look at defense for a moment and they would just be quiet and say nothing. I wish I could find one of those hearings right off the top before I edit this because I was like, wow, while I was watching this. And we know prosecution wasn't.
I got to run to the bathroom. I'll be right back. I'm just going to let it play. So if you need me to back up, just let me know when I come back.
Ready yet. Of course, there's a lot of nuance to this. People are going to say, okay, but defense wasn't ready either. But the point is, defense wouldn't have to be ready for as many things if they would have held the state's feet to the fire. Keeping that clock ticking is a known aggressive defense strategy to weaponize the state's own incompetence against them. We saw this in the Alex Murdaugh case. His defense team explicitly demanded a speedy trial. The state was forced to rush their financial and forensic discovery. It put massive pressure on them. And of course, Murdaugh was convicted, but hey, guess what? It's obvious in the news cycle that their case might not hold up. We saw this issue play out in the Daybell case as well, but those are whole other matters, right? Especially since I believe both of those are probably as guilty as sin. So back to the point, whether you agree with her waiving speedy trial or not, it was procedurally bizarre the way that it went down. In open court, Ann Taylor explicitly stated that she had not briefed her client on waiving his right. The judge pushes the issue, goes to get an Odyssey court management waiver, brings the form there, and then the entire courtroom sat in dead silence while Taylor whispered to Kohberger at the defense table. So she sits there briefing him at the 11th hour right in front of all of us, and it was so quiet and weird and awkward. And this slipped by a lot of people's notice, and I had to make an episode about it because this was actually just a basic status hearing. But of course, it got published as Kohberger waives his right to speedy trial. So all the titles for the videos were like speedy trial waiver, but it was actually just a status hearing originally. The speedy trial clock is a weapon, and the defense here refused to use it. The nuance being that, of course, many defense attorneys do refuse to use it. And unfortunately, there is a monetary motivation to do so. I'm not saying that that's why Ann Taylor did it. I'm just saying that every attorney out there gets more money the more that they can drag a case out. And I'm absolutely not saying that every attorney does that. There are good and bad attorneys in this world. And anyone who has worked with attorneys, worked for attorneys, or are attorneys themselves know that this statement is true. There are a lot of bad attorneys. They exist, and a lot of public defenders do great work. I'm not knocking all public defenders, but I do believe that it is true that they do get paid from the same side as the state, and everyone knows that if you have the money, you don't want a public defender. But to be for real, guys, most people are going to use a public defender in a murder trial. Why? Because murder trials cost millions of dollars from private attorneys. Millions. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not kidding. That's just the truth of the matter. But back to the point. That was a status hearing. That's the reason that no one had a form filled out and they had to go and get a basic Odyssey form, because prosecution nor the defense didn't have this speedy trial waiver worked out before they got into this status hearing. It sort of came about, and it was odd. It struck me. It came out of nowhere, and I was over here like, what the fuck? So moral of the story, Ann Taylor let prosecution off the hook, and now the story is remembered as Ann Taylor being the one that didn't have enough time, not prosecution. But honestly, she did ask for stays for the hearings a couple of times. She did point out that he shouldn't have to choose between his constitutional rights, which were an effective assistance of counsel or a speedy trial. But as it were, it worked out that he did have to choose between those pivotal constitutional rights. And I know people are going to be mad at me for saying it, but Anne folded on this one, you guys. She folded. Even if it were the plan to waive the right to a speedy trial, it's the way that it happened. So weird. You guys may hear the neighbor's dog barking out here. If you do, I apologize. Now, speaking of other weird things from this case, we have to talk about the stipulation for a tip that led to Kohberger. I'm not just talking about the tip that the police claim the FBI gave them, the tip that it might be Kohberger from the alleged family tree that they built out with his DNA. I'm talking about when Anne gets locked out of the IGG and the judge tells them that they're going to come up with some way to tell the jury how the police were led to Kohberger. Instead of turning over all of those IGG files in discovery, the prosecution was successful reinventing the IGG as nothing more than a tip. I cannot stress enough that this is one of the most curious things to me about this pretrial. To understand why this next document is so bizarre, you have to understand how the state actually caught Bryan Kohberger. They used investigative genetic genealogy, or IGG. This is where the FBI takes a DNA sample from a crime scene, uploads it to a public genealogy database, and builds a massive family tree of relatives until they narrow it down to one suspect. In a standard criminal trial, the defense has a constitutional right to see the state's math. They're supposed to get the family trees, the laboratory reports, and the exact digital chain of custody so they can test it to see if the FBI made a mistake. For over a year, the state fought tooth.
Welcome, Greg. Good to see you today. Which parents had trouble with the law because of drugs, conflicts of interest? In the beginning of this, Kara Kernodle, Xana's mother, was going to be defended by the public defender's office, which was Ann's office at that point. And initially, it was said that Ann was going to be her actual attorney, and the conflict of interest came into effect at that point. Now, Kara, and as well as Ben Mogan and his wife, had issues with the law over drugs and different aspects of this at some point before and after. Kara had been arrested, as well as, I think it was Ben's wife, was arrested after the fact, as Anna's stepmother. So right, her stepmother. Thank you, Tomboy. And so in turn, you know, that's kind of where, if you guys followed Pavarotti at all, that's kind of where his basis started at with what a lot of what he's talked about. So it's all been part of a lot of people's thoughts on this. Okay, there's not something you can just ignore, you know. And God, I'm not by any means trying to talk bad about any of them. Please don't get me wrong. You know, Kara is doing amazing right now. She's gotten help and gone in a direction that Xana, I'm sure, is very proud of from where she's at this point, and her whole family should be, because Xana's done amazing, or Kara's done amazing things. And God bless her for her loss and everything she's gone through at this point for all of this. Okay, and Ben the same. You know, people have speed bumps in their life that they go through. This doesn't make them horrible people, guys. Just don't judge people in that aspect is all I'm asking, because we just don't ever know, you know. We don't know. It could be any of us at any given time in our lives. So the point is it could have been, it's been looked at that that could be part of what may have happened. People believe that it could have been something that prompted this, you know, and it has been that thought for a long time. So um but anyway, to answer your questions, Greg, that's where that all comes from. And thank you for being here. And Greg said, thanks. There's a reason why there's a Quad Cities Drug Task Force up here, where local, state, federal, LE are attempting to tamp down the drug trade at Wazoo. And yeah, of course, they were on the ground when the murders happened, from my understanding, Greg. There was multiple people that had claimed that they knew that the Quad Cities task force was there and on the ground. So right in the midst of this whole atrocity happening, that was going on. So is that part of it? I don't know. I think Kara, in one of her statements even made during her interview, she said, the rest of it was redacted, but she makes a statement and says, this better not be because of, well, what would you think? Okay. You know what I mean? You have to think. So,
Dago, I got to drop down for a minute. I'll be back up.
Oh no, you're good, bro. Do what you got to do. We're not gonna be here too much longer anyway. So take your time. Arrested before the crimes, right? Do I have a photographic memory? With this case, unfortunately, I have to, and I have, because I've been in this case from day one. I remember a lot of things from here. With other things, no. If you talk about something today, I may forget it tomorrow. But with this case, yes, I do. But thank you, I appreciate that. I do the best I can.
The nail to hide those FBI files from the defense. By calling the FBI's genetic testing a tip, the state bypasses the Fourth Amendment. If the defense cannot see exactly how the FBI handled the original genetic data, they cannot challenge it. And that's exactly what happened. The state successfully blocked Ann out from that. She only got to see a portion of it in an in-camera hearing with the judge. So she actually didn't receive the data. There was never discovery of the IgG. Therefore, she was unable to drag it out into the courtroom, which is a complicated defense strategy anyway. However, she basically didn't have any option for that strategy. So in comes the stipulation to call the thing a tip. Let's talk about why that's fucking bizarre. The instruction explicitly tells the jurors, you are not to consider this testimony for...
Thank you, Cardinal, and thank you for noticing how hard we do try to bring the truth. So thank you very much, and God bless. Thank you for being here.
Any purpose other than the limited purpose of when and why law enforcement first investigated the defendant. You are not to speculate as to the source or substance of the tip. I don't know what they were smoking to think that that would work, or that the jurors wouldn't give in to their own curiosity. You know, it's kind of one of those funny things. Jurors are supposed to listen to all instructions, but we all know that they don't, right? So this stipulation demands that they...
Yeah, I should have caught that earlier, but she's right, guys. Think about that for a minute. You show me anywhere, anyhow, any way that it's ethical for a judge to request attorneys to lie to a jury in any form or fashion. It's insane. And it just falls right into the rest of the bucket with the rest of the disgusting garbage that goes with this case, guys. Facts are facts. So, just saying.
Ignore their curiosity about the source of the lead that sparked this capital murder investigation. So it legislates curiosity out of the jury box. Get out of here, curiosity. You ain't shit. So they jointly proposed that both sides essentially strip the jury of their right to ask the most important question in the fucking room. How did you actually get the name? What the fuck? I can't believe that. I just can't believe that they stipulated to this jury instruction that this was an answer. I mean, okay, I get it. They can't bring IGG up because Ann Taylor and her team can't fight anything about the IGG because they're deadlocked. They don't have the information. But I mean, agreeing to this tip and this concept that the jury is going to ignore their own curiosity is equally as fucked up as them not getting the IGG info in the first place. Obviously, because a jury is told not to speculate on the source of a tip, this means in their mind, they're supposed to imagine that this investigation just happens. It's an immaculate conception of an investigation, y'all. It creates a narrative where the investigation is infallible because the jury never sees the messy and potentially unconstitutional genetic genealogy search that started it all. They were going to tell the jurors that the investigation started on December 19th, but then they added the kicker. Don't speculate about why they were brought to Kohberger on the 19th. They're going to fucking speculate about it. And what's bad for the defense is they could speculate something terrible, like, oh, wow, maybe he told his friend and his friend called in a tip on him. They're going to speculate things that makes him seem more guilty than this weird, complex, and bizarre family tree that ourselves and defense are never going to get to see. And when you strip away all the legalese, it's an instruction designed to do one thing: keep the jury from seeing the shadow methods used to build this case. And the investigation's foundations were going to remain invisible and unquestioned and completely beyond the jury's reach. And everyone's like, why would he take the plea deal? Why wouldn't he just risk the fucking firing squad? But that alt suspect ruling really crippled this shit out of defense. I mean, really crippled them. That was going to make it extremely hard to argue the tunnel vision and that law enforcement focused on Bryan Kohberger to the detriment of other suspects. I mean, that coupled with the fact that they were now going to sanitize the entire investigation by calling the IGG evidence a tip, that was really going to make the prosecution's version of things much more streamlined. I mean, yeah, they were cooked. I mean, it did come down as an order from the judge, but defense should have fought it. They should have fought that. There is no way that they shouldn't have fought that. All right, let's talk about the 911 call because defense really shot themselves in the foot here. The defense fought hard to get the 911 call thrown out under hearsay rules, and the prosecution wanted the entire thing played before the jury. And they did partially win some of their motion, and the judge agreed to strip out specific lines. But what got left on the cutting room floor is the problem, okay? The parts that got redacted were some of the most suspicious moments of the entire call. The jury wouldn't hear the weird, something happened in our house comment, or the, yeah, they're gonna not hear that completely fake cry. You guys, when I heard that cry, oh my God, okay. Let's get the language here right. It is my opinion that that was the fakest cry. It was, I was mind blown. Okay, you guys remember how long we waited to hear that 911 call? Oh my God, I couldn't even get past that part. I had to pause and just rewind and pause and rewind, and I was floored. I was shocked by how fake the sounded. It was horrible. I mean, okay, everybody on the Idaho 4 sub and people who think that BK is guilty, sure, they were like, oh, how sad that was. But I don't know. I just would have wanted that played in front of the jury, especially if some of it was going to be played. Play all of it.
Yeah, because truly and honestly, just like every damn one of us, the jury would have went, no, that is bullshit. That's not real. And it would have been, that's exactly why I don't think it's a joke. It's a whole joke completely.
Definitely need that part in there. As the defense team, your entire job is to create reasonable doubt, and baby, you got it. You got it. You had it right there. You want the jury looking at anyone else. You want the jury to hear the surviving roommate sounding bizarre, performative, and suspicious. Can I just tell you what happened at 4 a.m.? That audio is prime material to make the jury question the surviving roommate's actions that morning. Instead of letting the jury hear how strange that call actually was, the defense used hearsay rules to get it redacted. They essentially cleaned up the state's witnesses. Okay, let's talk about Massive. There were times where I really enjoyed her style, and she was a little bit less, tiptoey, I guess you could say. Like she had a lot more sass, and I did like that about her, but OMG, keep that for your emotions. Like sometimes she really shocked me in the courtroom how much stank she would put on something she was saying to the judge. And speaking of stink, she kind of always had this face on her, like she did not have a poker face at all. And she was kind of always sitting there sort of making this smirk or something. Now, full disclosure, okay, I could never go and do what they do. I could not stand up there and argue. I'm one of those people that I would honestly probably lose my temper more than she did. But that's why I'm not a courtroom litigator. I'm strictly back here working on the paperwork, okay? Because, I couldn't do it. So full disclosure with that. Okay, now let's talk about the traffic stop body cam and how Ann Taylor's attempt to block that evidence actually created a worse problem for the defense. The prosecution wanted to introduce the body cam footage of Bryan getting pulled over. Ann Taylor argued against showing it. Her argument sort of made perfect sense if you think about it, because why would the state need to show the random traffic stop to the jury? But the prosecution claimed they needed it for one reason. They argued they needed it to positively identify Bryan as himself. Okay, because the defense fought that footage, the plan became to redact it. So the jury was only going to see the portion where police are positively identifying him, and the rest of the interaction gets cut out. But this is where the defense accidentally shot themselves, right? Because if you look at the unredacted stop, it's completely mundane. So innocuous. It was a simple seatbelt ticket. Bryan is actually honest about what he had done. He later asked why the cop needed his number. And he asked some procedural questions about the stop, which is actually something we've seen him do before. It's not overly suspicious, though. It's just a guy getting a traffic infraction. But because the video is being redacted down to just the identification, the jury won't just be seeing this boring seatbelt ticket. They'll just see a chopped up clip of a murder suspect being pulled over by police. When you redact the actual reason for the stop, you leave the rest up to speculation. If you're the jury, you're going to fill in that blank space. They'll assume he was pulled over for something sinister. By fighting to hide the basic traffic ticket, the defense accidentally turned a harmless interaction into this dark mystery. That sucks so bad. So in Brent Turvey's interview with Custody Queens, shout out Custody Queens for their excellent interview of Dr. Turvey, Turvey pointed out exactly who has access to Bryan and Jill, and it's obviously Ann and his parents. So you need to look at the psychology of that isolation. We have a defendant who's locked in a cell facing the death penalty, and their entire reality is shaped by the people that he's allowed access to. He has zero outside perspective. So who makes up the echo chamber? You have Ann Taylor controlling the legal narrative. Then you have his parents, who are undoubtedly terrified that their son's going to be executed. If the defense team decides to get him to take this plea deal and it's the safest route, Bryan is trapped in an information vacuum. He does not have independent counsel to review the strategy. He does not have outside experts sitting down with him to explain the flaws in the state's evidence. And I believe this level of isolation should completely change how you view the plea deal. When you're cut off from the world and the only voices that you hear are attorneys who want you to avoid a trial and parents who want to save your life, I think the pressure to fold is immense. And it does force us to question if the plea was a calculated decision or an inevitable result of being worn down in a legal echo chamber. Now, this is really hard to explain to people because they say, I would never plead guilty to something that I didn't do. And so many of us have sat there and said that and have changed our minds once we are actually shaken down by the system. And I cannot explain to you the intense psychological deprivation happening from being locked in a county jail for 2 years. 2 years. County jail is not meant for a person to serve that kind of time. And prison, I guarantee you, came as an immense relief to someone who's been sitting in county for 2 years. I could do a whole episode on this because seriously, you guys, seriously, people don't understand. County jail is designed to break people. Now, I want us to really question the fact that Turvey also mentioned in that same interview that Ann actually asked him to meet Bryan. She asked him to meet Bryan, according to him, to convince him of Bryan's innocence, to which he said that his innocence does not matter to him. His innocence is besides the point, and he wanted to remain objective and never did meet Bryan. However, I have to ask myself, and you guys, if she wanted him to meet Bryan to convince him that Bryan was innocent, how exactly would that be conveyed? And does it have to do with Bryan's general disposition? And is it because he has certain cognitive challenges? It's no secret that she has put that in the paperwork. She said that Bryan has such a strange effect that whenever he was arrested by officers, he asked them about their education from the back of the police cruiser and suggested that after all of this, they may go and get coffee. That was how, I said that like I'm a northerner, coffee. You ask him to get coffee. No, seriously, if that's the kind of questions he's asking, we do seriously have to wonder about the way that he comes off. And I've honestly wondered about this so much. I mean, we can tell. I don't mean to be mean, but we can tell that he does sort of have a strangeness about him. That's not bad, right? We don't need people to all be the same. And I have autistic loved ones, and I don't want them to be the same, and I don't want them to be any different than they are. But to people who don't understand, it could cause a lot of misconceptions about Bryan as a human being, and certainly complicate putting Bryan on the stand. And according to Ann Taylor, his challenges made it difficult for him to participate in his own defense. I repeat, Ann Taylor said that Bryan is incapable of participating in his own defense. Was this something that she expected Dr. Turvey to be able to easily observe and therefore extend to the possibility that he did not commit these crimes? Because I've often wondered, is this why they are hiding the interview that they conducted in Pennsylvania? Because they do not want that interview out. There is a lawsuit in court right now where Iwu is attempting to make that video public, and they are fighting it tooth and nail. Well, I say tooth and nail. So far, all they've done is try to point out that Iwu has no right to sue for it and haven't actually put forth any real argument as to why they should be withholding it, but I digress. Point is, I'm speculating here, but I do wonder if it could come down to Bryan's cognitive challenges. The defense has already pointed out that he needed a massive amount of assistance to get through school. He had learning assistance. He had speech therapy when he was younger. People point to his degrees. He did not get those degrees without significant accommodations, at least in his younger life. So if you take someone with severe spectrum and processing challenges and put them in a high-stress police interrogations, it could be a recipe for disaster. The police know exactly how to manipulate those communication hurdles. And I believe this footage could be being hidden because it makes his cognitive struggles highly apparent. This could connect directly to why Ann Taylor wanted Brent Turvey to meet Bryan. And if Bryan is struggling to process the reality of his situation due to his cognitive state and is dealing with a client who's uniquely vulnerable, he might be easily confused, easily overwhelmed, unable to accurately process the state's narrative. If Bryan were just a run-of-the-mill calculated killer sitting in a room with Brent Turvey, would not convince him of anything. A guy like Turvey does not get manipulated by standard criminals. So why would a face-to-face meeting matter? Maybe Ann knew that if Brent sat down with him, he wouldn't see a criminal mastermind the media had created. Maybe he would see an individual with severe cognitive and social challenges. And seeing those deficits in person could maybe convince any expert that Bryan simply does not fit the profile of the person who committed this crime. It's all speculative. Hey, just some thoughts I have. Either way, Turvey said it didn't matter to him and he wanted to remain objective, so he never actually met Bryan. Turvey also said a lot more interesting things, such as the state looking into Ann Taylor as a suspect for the leak, which seems insanely odd because none of that.
He's been diagnosed autistic. Okay. He was diagnosed when he was younger, and then they re-diagnosed him as this all happened to provide for the case and so on and so forth. So he's definitely autistic and has been definitely medically diagnosed, as you should be, along with the other issues that he has too, just so everybody understands that he's not like faking it. You don't fake being autistic. Okay. So it's just, you can fake certain things, but the testing that's done, you can't get around that, guys. It's just what it is. So just saying so everybody understands.
Alleged leak could have possibly helped her defendant. And I suppose the only motive you could argue for it being her was to delay the trial more, because she did use that documentary as well as some of the books coming out as her reasoning for said delay. But I think that part seemed to piss a lot of people off, because there seems to be a large majority of people, even in the BK innocent camp, that
100%. Sarita, this is why I took it so personally, because of my own child and the things that I know about them, and the bullying that I saw happen with Bryan made me sick. Still does. Even if he was somebody that had let's just say he was involved, there were still some disgusting factors that went on with his diagnosis of the issues he had. So 1,000,000%, I fully agree with you, Sarita, and thank you for making that statement too.
Are really trying to go against Turvey, and that has really actually surprised me. Again, you don't have to take everything he says as the gold standard, but I think he seems to be some.
No, G, I know that, hon. Not you. I was thanking Sarita for her statement with what she said. I know you did not by any means mean what you said, or mean what. I know that. I didn't take what you said at all like what you're thinking. Don't worry about that at all. You're fine. I wasn't even directing what I was saying towards what you said, so don't worry about it. I was talking to Sarita about her statement, so you're fine, and thank you again.
Someone who was attempting to do the right thing, and let's be clear here, in Anne's statement against him, she never said Brent was lying. Never. Not once did she say, what he is saying is not true. And Dr. Turvey was saying everything he's talked about is already on the public record, and that he never broke his NDA. Even if he did, and he believes he's doing it for the right reason, and because Ann Taylor may or may not be on Bryan Kohberger's team, then I think it's a good thing. And I think it's weird that so many people in the BK is innocent camp are coming after Dr. Turvey. I really don't see what his motive would be if it weren't a noble one. I really genuinely don't understand why he would be coming out and saying these things if it weren't for the reasons that he's stating. Because he believes, in my opinion, he believes that Bryan may be factually innocent. And it's my opinion that he also believes that Ann Taylor may not be the attorney that Bryan needs. And he also says that he anticipates being a witness for Ann's ineffectiveness, if that ever comes to be. I applaud him for that. I really do. And we can look at all of these things and conclude that Ann was struck by an overwhelming amount of legal challenges. But we also have to acknowledge the other possibility. Ann Taylor operates inside a very tight, insular legal system in Idaho. It's a classic good old boys club. If she was actually just playing her role in that club, how would we even know? If her actual job was to quietly cooperate, protect the state's investigative secrets with joint stipulations, and ensure this case moved through the system without exposing the cracks, what would that look like? The terrifying reality is that we would hardly be able to tell the difference. A defense attorney who is genuinely fighting but getting legally steamrolled by a biased system looks exactly the same on paper as a defense attorney who is quietly playing along to maintain her standing in that same system. Both scenarios result in the exact same outcome. The DNA science gets hidden under the word tip, the alternative suspects get silenced, the 911 calls get sanitized, and a uniquely vulnerable defendant gets completely boxed into a corner.
All right. God, it gotta be faster than that, I guess. I don't know how that just happened. Sorry, guys. I don't know why it always wants to go to the custody queens like right away. Any thoughts on that, Moto?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. She doesn't really get analysis of kind of everything.
And like I said, listen, I know there's people that are going to say, no way, no way, no way, no. Okay, it's fine. Everybody has their own feelings on this, guys. I don't fully agree with everything she said, okay, but she did make some really good points. And we have open minds in here, so you take it, you leave it, whatever you want to do with it. I agree with Moto. She did have a very good way of explaining this stuff, guys. Very much so. So it's a very interesting video.
I was really interested in. Well, it was nice being reminded of what really happened and who's everybody was related to in this case. And
Absolutely.
I'm glad she reminded us about Chief Fry's wife being the court clerk and just explaining on exactly what the court clerk sees.
Yeah.
As in relation to what the defense would be submitting, right? So,
absolutely.
I mean, if Anne's game is busted from the go, what game does Anne got?
That's exactly the point that I've been trying to make. Like I said, Turby could see this the way he sees it for specific reasons, and that's not saying that it means that Anne is crooked or she's this or she's that. What it could mean is that she never had a chance from day one, from the moment she stepped onto the platform with this, to do anything because she wasn't supposed to. Okay. Now, of course, people can see it the way that they do, that she was on board the good old Boyd network, blah, blah, blah. I get that. Fine. That's okay. But don't forget, every time she tried to push forward on something, she was pushed back. There was so much pushback on this with the defense that it was insane. Like I think Neeks brought up, one of the biggest things was that, we watched Eliza Massa jump up there on the podium, and immediately he tried to shut her down multiple times, and she would just talk over him because he was such a rude asshole. Which tells us a lot that the judge, in my opinion, fully and absolutely was in the pocket of the prosecution, guys, from day one. He was not going to be there to give anybody a fair shot with anything. Okay. And he made many, many comments to prove that. I'll just put it out there. And I would have no problem saying that to this man's face because he knows what he did. I'll just say that. Okay. So again, we cannot forget that Anne she didn't have any support in the areas she should have. As an attorney alone, okay, an attorney alone should be treated by a judge with absolute respect, okay? Regardless of whether you're prosecution or defense, you should still be treated with absolute respect, and she was not. There was not even an ounce of respect from him to her, in my opinion. So there again, we can't forget those things. Now, maybe that's why Turby sees her the way he does. Okay, maybe he doesn't fully understand those things. Maybe he didn't have the opportunity to see that in action, being that he doesn't care to see the things that he doesn't have to put his hands on. If you remember him saying that, that's not his wheelhouse. That's not his job. That's not his he doesn't take part in that kind of stuff, so he doesn't care to see it. Knowing what we know, we see it. We've seen it time and time and time again. I'm just saying. And I feel like Judge was a bit of a different type of judge and was probably, it may have gone different if we would have had him at the end. But again, let me reiterate something I've always said. Bryan was always going to be guilty. Okay. No matter what the situation, I fully believe Bryan was always going to be guilty. And I fully believe this was never going to go to trial ever. And I think Eddie, if he was here, would probably reiterate the same thing. Eddie said 3 years ago, Dago, this is not going to go to trial. Okay. I didn't believe him then. I said, no, come on. It'll go to trial. It'll go to trial, and it may fall apart during trial, but it's going to go. No, I'm telling you respectfully, Dago, it's not going to go to trial. Okay. Well, guess what? We didn't go to trial. He was right the whole time. And a lot of other things he pointed out were right too, as to why. And I don't think any of us can deny that. So once again, take it how you'll take it, folks. And everybody's opinions are important, and everybody's opinions mean a lot, in my opinion. Whether you go one way or the other, they're still important. But
I bet you that's the most upsetting thing about this entire case. Like everybody, I guess for everybody who believes that Bryan's innocent, it's just the fact that we're just in shock and disbelief when it didn't go to trial.
Yeah,
I understand. And you know what? Kudos to Eddie for predicting that. But it's such a large disappointment, right? I mean, we're all screaming from the rooftops, from behind our laptops, our cell phones, and everything, watching these things. And at the time, I mean, we didn't have the same kind of insight into the case that we do now.
Right.
But
not even close.
It's really sad. It's really sad.
It's one of the biggest, most disheartening things I've ever seen. Truly and honestly. Thank you, Julia. I appreciate that so very much.
You think if there was such thing as justice, the true justice would be this case actually going to trial?
Yeah, at the very least, Moto, at least going to trial. Whether he was found guilty or not, at least let it go to trial. Let it work itself out. Let it be seen for what it is. But see, here's the thing. I think I can almost bet that this is a fact. As much as I know it's not because I can't prove it, I would almost guarantee you it's a fact. They knew in the beginning of this that this couldn't go to trial because they didn't have a case, you guys. If you guys go back to November, December, January, February of 23, okay? Wait till we get, and remember what was said to us as doubters, okay? We were called doubters then. Now we're pro-burgers, whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't give a fuck. I'm a truth seeker. That's what I am, okay? That's what I promote myself as, and my entire community are truth seekers, period. That's what we want. And truth and justice for the victims of a horrible crime is all we're here for. So anyway, all of the doubters, okay, back then, as we were called, were like, what the hell? Like, this is weird. This is crazy. No, come on now. This can't be what it is. I don't know that he's guilty, guys. I don't believe it because I haven't seen any. And then we get this. Just wait till we get to trial. We have so much more evidence against him. We have so much more stuff that we're going to present. This didn't have to be put out because all we needed was enough to prove, doubt and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And absolutely not a fucking thing did we get. Nothing. Because it wasn't there. It never was. Okay. And they knew that from day one. Hence, the reason why I believe this was never going to go to trial. Bill Thompson probably shit on himself more than he didn't. Worried that they weren't going to take a plea deal on this, guys. Because I think Bill Thompson planned from day one, this is how we're going to do it. And we're going to offer the plea right at the end, right before the trial, and shut it down.
You know what? Somebody should have been the parent in the room and said, let's stop. Let's think about this. If we don't have a case, let's not proceed this direction.
Thank you.
I mean, think about what it's going to do to Idaho in the future if it turns out that our hypothesis is correct.
Right.
Then you know how bad that's going to look.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They had nothing. They had nothing. Okay. And all they did was, the only thing they had was the fact that 4 people were murdered. That's it. That's the only truth we've seen in this case, to be honest with you. 4 people were murdered on November 13th. That's it.
And it's this bullshit right here that we the people, or everybody that, lives in a democracy can't trust the government. Why would you trust the government after seeing something like this?
You have no reason to. None whatsoever at all. Okay? And again, they knew this and just kept feeding us the bullshit. One time, day after day after day after day after day. We have so much more evidence. Just wait till you see all the evidence. And then you have people like the G's coming out. They have so much evidence. We could get him in state and federal. He's going down no matter what. There'll be no plea deals. There'll be none of this. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. He's going down. It's him. It's him. It's him. It's him. There was nothing, guys. The murders happened. They found somebody. They chose. I'm going to use that word specifically. They chose somebody and they built the case around him. Is exactly what they did. And they cheated, lied, and stole to do it. Everything you could possibly do that you're not supposed to was done in this case to make this happen.
You know what? Everybody has in everybody's own selfish way, we have a reputation to protect.
Yeah.
What kind of reputation would you want, or how would you want to be remembered? Would you want to be remembered as the jerk that let things like this slide, or do you want to be remembered as the person that seeked the truth and would have stood up to somebody like Thompson? I'm not saying any of his superiors should have stood up to Thompson and said, we got to put the brakes on this, folks.
Oh, absolutely. I fully agree. But Bill, every time anybody even came remotely close to doing that, Moto, Thompson would jump up and down and stomp his feet like the little bitch baby he is and throw his hands up in the air until he turned purple to the point where they were afraid he was going to drop over from a heart attack because he didn't get his way.
Well, you know what? That's life. That's life sometimes. You don't always get what you want, right? It's in a song.
Well, that's a fact. That is a fact. But in Moscow, Idaho, in Latah County, Bill Thompson always got his way. Hence the reason why he had so many closed cases and so many convictions, all based on fucking plea deals, because the man doesn't know how to be a prosecutor. He doesn't know how to tell the truth. This is not the first time this has happened, you guys, at all. I have information proving that. Many, many, many cases he's done the same shit in, okay? And I don't know if the man has to take drugs to sleep at night or what, but I don't know how. I just don't know how he sleeps at night, knowing what he's done. 30 years of this shit.
Yeah, well, if you've done it for 30 years, you probably sleep just fine.
Well, I'm sure at this point, because of the paychecks he receives. Absolutely, I get you.
He might burn for it, though. Who knows?
Yeah. Hey. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a special place, and I've said it before, there's a special place in hell waiting for him, truly and honestly.
If
his cohort.
The people that could be responsible for this, you know what? They're probably burning. They probably feel more guilt than we could ever imagine.
I agree. I do agree. And you guys know me, I fully and truly and honestly believe in real karma. If it hasn't happened yet.
I do too, 100%.
Yeah, if it hasn't happened yet, it's coming. And again, as I've been stating recently, I do believe that there are whistleblowers coming to the surface on this, and there's some other things that are going to blow up at the end of this here coming soon, okay? However we react to it is how we react to it. But all I'm telling you guys is you have to be able to read between the lines and see what's real and what's not. That's all. That's the most important part of this, just like with Chris Wickham's book. The book, I think, was put out there for us to be able to read between the lines and see the things that he's saying, understand the things he's not saying, and put them together in that sense. He came forth with this book, in my opinion, as a manual, okay, for people out here based on the things he said to us behind the scenes, in his interviews. Here, keep doing what you're doing. Maybe use these resources to help you a little bit, or these tools to help in a little bit of a way. And I know people don't always believe in him. I get it. But he did give us some information that proved to be true and definitely helped in some ways. And I think there's going to be more to come to add to that down the road. I may not be a big fan of him completely and the way he did certain things, but I don't have a reason yet to not. Okay, I'll just say that. Don't think that if I do find that reason that I'm not going to call it out first and foremost. Thank you, Bubbles, very much. But it'll happen.
I think the part, in my own opinion, I think the part that Turvey misses is because he was brought in right at the end of the case. He wasn't there.
Right.
He wasn't directly involved in the case when everything first went down, when Bryan was first brought to the court.
He came in October of 24, right?
And maybe that's where his discrepancy lies with himself and Ann Taylor is just the entire history of the case itself. He doesn't know all the puzzle pieces. He wasn't there for all of it, right?
Absolutely.
I'm not saying Ann was ever a bad lawyer. I'm not saying Turvey is a horrible human being. All I'm saying is, or he didn't do his job, whatever. All I'm saying is, I think there's two different set of eyes to even if you're on the same team, there's always two different ways to look at a situation, right?
Yes, sir. And I think the more eyes, the better, because the more opinions, the better. And the more people that see this can see the things that we've seen. And the more, it seems to me, this is my opinion, the more people that come forth are they're still seeing the things we've been seeing and justifying a lot of the stuff we've said. There's some other things that may be uncomfortable with it. I get that. But at the same time, look at it in the long run. It's justifying the things we've said, which, in my opinion, proves that we haven't been out here for 3 years for no reason at all. I'll just say that. So,
hey, thanks for having me on. I got to drop out. Have a good night, guys.
Anytime, brother. I always appreciate you being here. I hope you have a great night. We'll see you soon. All right, guys. I think that's going to kill it for today. We've been here going on 4 hours. I think I've drug you guys through enough mud. I hope you guys enjoyed this today. I really appreciate you, Eddie, Moto, always coming up and voicing your feelings and opinions. And please know, guys, when I post that link at the top of the chat, it's not just for them. Any one of you are welcome to come up here. I want you to. The more the better, because I feel that more people need to be able to have their voice heard. That's what this is all about. That's why I do that almost every day. Okay? Every one of you deserves to have the opportunity. Whatever your feelings are, you're not going to be shut down. Okay? Even if we disagree with you, I'm not going to allow anybody to shut you down or treat you like you're not important, because you are. Every one of you are important. So thank you again, guys, for joining us. Again, don't forget to tune in 6 p.m. tonight. Should be coming up actually now. Let me see here. We may just have to bounce right on over there, guys, and morph ourselves into Ms. Logan's chat. Let me check and see where we're at with this. Give me 1 minute. You know, there's a time difference. Hold on. All right. It'll be 6:30. We got about 20 minutes. Please, if you're not doing nothing else, guys, hop on over there to support Logan as she welcomes Mr. Travis to the show tonight. It's going to be an amazing show. I'm sure you guys can anticipate. So please make sure you let her know I send all of you guys over there to support her and to meet Mr. Travis for the first time. Again, he'll be joining us this Saturday on the Verdict Room with myself, Miss Logan, Kim, and Mike, 6 p.m. But right now, guys, 20 minutes to the show time. Ms. Logan's going to have him there, and it's going to be a great show. So please hop on over, show your support, show your love, subscribe to Bronx Tales True Crime if you have not yet done it. Hit that like button and the notifier so you don't miss anything she does. And I'm going to tell you guys all so very much appreciated. Thank you to my amazing moderators. Thank you to all of you amazing and beautiful people for being here and supporting us. Thank you to anybody that chose to support us through any of the Cash Apps, Super Chats, any of that. You guys are absolutely amazing. Always appreciated, never expected. Guys, make sure to hit the notifier here. That way you don't miss anything we do. Hit the like button, subscribe if you have not yet done it. And make sure you check it, because sometimes YouTube unsubscribe people that don't even know it. Don't forget to love yourselves, folks, and love each other. You guys are still very important to us here at this community. And I want you to know that I do love and appreciate each and every one of you full-heartedly, guys, because I wouldn't exist without you. So once again, don't forget as well, tonight I will be live with Crimes After Dark, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Looking forward to that as always. Again, folks, don't change a thing. You guys truly are the beautiful people. Again, nothing but love to each and every one of you and appreciation for all you do. I will see you all very soon. And of course, I'll be jumping in with my mods that are available here for just a few minutes. Have a great night, folks. Bye-bye.
The coffee's cold, the final stain. We laid the map out in the pouring rain. No hidden corners left to creep. The dark truth woke while the city was asleep. The evidence lines up straight and true. A perfect picture of what is empty, closed for the night. We put the darkness back into the light. We'll wipe the counter, set the empty chair, and wait right here for the next secret laid bare. Until the next one.